The sun rose slow on a broken town. Factories closed, machines shut down. Promises made, but none were kept. Dreams turned to dust while the people wept. 90 days of fleeting chance, a lifeline lost in a reckless dance. The clock ran out, now it's too late. Unemployment's the cruelest fate. The tariffs came, they hit like a storm. Families braced to keep their homes warm. A pause was given, a moment to act, but the time was wasted, that's a hard fact. 90 days of fleeting chance, a lifeline lost in a reckless dance. The clock ran out, now it's too late. Unemployment's the cruelest fate. Leaders spoke with words so grand, but their hollow deeds we can't withstand. The people begged, the people cried. Now hope's a stranger on this side. Misery's knocking, poverty's near, a future clouded by doubt and fear. If only they'd fought to make things right, we wouldn't be lost in this endless night. Sunsets and skies so blue, mountains whisper stories of dreams so true. From oceans roaring wild to valleys deep, a heartbeat of a nation that will not sleep. Save South Africa, rise above the storm. Hands together strong, a new world is born. Beauty in our hearts, let it light the way. Evil cannot reign when we seize the day. The people sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The soil holds our history, roots run so long. A melody of freedom, we're singing strong. They may curse the land with lies they weave, but we hold the truth in what we believe. Their crowns may crumble, their thrones may fall, for the power is the people's above it all. Save South Africa, rise above the storm. Hands together strong, a new world is born. Beauty in our hearts, let it light the way. Evil cannot reign when we seize the day. People sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The people sing louder then shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The people sing louder than the shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The soil holds our history, roots run so long. A melody of freedom, we're singing strong. They may curse the land with lies, they weave their weave, but we hold the truth in what we believe. Their crowns may crumble, their thrones may fall, for the power is the people above it all. We know it all.
Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Welcome to all the Neanderthals on the left-hand side of the forum, the canines in the center, the right-wing podcasters over there on the right, all the aspiring car guards throughout the center. Hate wankers are located individually in spots throughout. Oops, that's not looking so good. Tilt that a little bit there. There we go. That's too shiny. There we go. It's not so bad. That's going to fall, though. That won't stay. Yeah, and hate wankers and, journalists who are stealing content are located somewhere in the empty seats amongst you all. So welcome back to the program, folks. It is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Chris live in central Pennsylvania for your daily dose, your daily injection. Oh, damn, that hurt. Yeah, no, your daily injection of anti-hyperbole, anti-propaganda, anti-BS. It's real news with real analysis, brought to you free of charge here on the PooTube, also known not so affectionately as YouTube. Welcome back to the program, and thank you, YouTube, for censoring my content once again. Anyway, stuck in the middle with you, says Charles. All right, the video brings tears to my eyes and heart. Lee, you must be talking about my Save South Africa video. I'm very proud of that one. That's the first AI song that I really put out there, and it was pretty cool. I didn't get an injection, Paul. I went through a whole rigmarole, and they made me, it was a walk-in clinic. You're supposed to be like an injection. They do hip replacement there every day. They got 30 doctors to do it. I met a crabby, grumpy lady who, it was at the reception. She told me to go upstairs. I'm upstairs. Lovely lady up there. Said, was it the large lady on the left-hand side? I said, yes, ma'am. Yeah, no, she's a pain in the ass. So she took me downstairs. She took me to the back where I got checked in. Another lovely lady helped me. Then they took me back and give me x-rays, and you'll see a physician assistant. I said, physician assistant, I came for an injection. You can't get an injection. That's anesthesia. You have to be put under that, and you have to have an appointment. That's by appointment. I said, well, I was told it was a walk-in. I was curious. It didn't make sense. Anyway, long story short, I got x-rays. I saw a physician's assistant. I saw the doc, and I saw my x-rays, and doesn't look good. With just the x-ray, I can see that the space is narrowed, and it's probably bone on bone. There may be no labrum, may have been shredded. But I had gone for the injection, so I'm not sure what to do now. All I know is if I take tiny little steps, I'm not in pain. So I walk like my feet are bound in ancient Japan. So anyway, so really didn't do anything for me. They did prescribe an anti-inflammatory prescription one that's much stronger, but not bad for your liver or your heart. Unfortunately, I went to the military clinic, which closed at 5, and at 4:27, their doors were locked. There was a gentleman delivering goods to the clinic. He'd taken in a couple loads. The parking lot was empty. Now, the staff parks behind the building, but there were no people for the clinic. They'd all been chased out already or been seen. But he was parked out front, only vehicle in the parking lot. He had just come back from the door, bringing a cart back, and I went to go in. He goes, oh, they locked the door on me. You're not going to be able to get in. I said, what? He said, yeah, no, I was carrying stuff in, and so I'm out of here. So he packed up his truck and left and didn't finish delivery because they shut the door. I don't know what was going on there, but that's not very cool. It's posted they're open until 5, and they closed at 4:27. Who knows? They closed before that. I arrived at 4:27. I did all I could not to break speed limits and run through robots to get back to the base because it was about a 15-minute drive from where I finished. And anyway, long story short, nothing. I've got no treatment, no improvement. All I'm going to get now is bills for care that I didn't get. Anyway, so... Joy had hip replacement in 2011 and doing fine. Well, the problem, Joy, is I'm stubborn and I don't want part of my body cut out and something to replace it. I'm just not cool with that. And I'm kind of pissed off at the Army for ignoring me all these years. If we had addressed this 30 years ago, this probably wouldn't have been a problem. We could have come up with sports medicine and exercises and things to do to take care of it. Yeah, so anyway, it's just a shame that I'm allowed to be neglected by the Army after I gave everything, and this is what I get. So just really pissed off about it. And here's the pisser. This injury is the Army's fault. It's a consequence of my service, and I'm going to have to pay for it. Not all of it, but I'm going to have to pay a bill. I shouldn't have to pay anything for this. This should be covered. So my next step will be to tell my physician that this is what happened, and then it will be to contact the Veterans Administration to ask about them and their thoughts, because I'm supposed to get free care from the Veterans Administration. So I'm disabled with the VA. I have a rating that gives me full medical care. So ID took 3 weeks, 1 week for passport. Wow, look at that. Wow, look at the crap guy. Martin Williams. Wow. Thank you for all your advice and understanding and the suffering we have endured in South Africa. You're welcome. I've been doing this forever. I've been doing it for blacks, whites, coloreds, Indians, forever, telling people what's been going on in South Africa. Jillian Mulder, thank you for your membership. Continuing 4 months. I want to get these super chats before they disappear on me. There were a couple super chats. There's one there from Werner Durant. Send me an email. Werner, I read your email. I also read what you said. Yeah, there's some news here. I'm not here in a position to break news, but several people sent me information indicating the Americanos are saying that they are now on the verge of becoming a service provider for the U.S. government with the refugees. I don't have any confirmation of that. I understand that was passed out by Sambusa. Don't know why she would do that unless it was true. Sam did ask to speak to me the other night, but it was late, and she said, let's talk when you're rested. And then yesterday I was running around with the doctor all day, so we haven't spoken. So I will reach out to Sam after this broadcast and see if Sam is available to discuss this, find out what's going on, okay? So that's all I can say about that. Okay, what's going on here? Oh, it's Debbie Fox gave 350 Rand super chat. Thank you for that. My chat's all screwed up over here. Come on. Something going on here. Must be a lot of chat. And I don't know if that was all the super chats. Thank you, Debbie. Let me just double check before we get too far behind. Werner, I got yours. Earnings. Come on, here we go. Super chats today. Okay, so what? Have these all occurred now and I missed them? Okay, Werner sent me an email. The 350 one. Oh, there it is later on. Werner sent me an email. Okay, you're still our #1 news guy, says Khan. Well, that's yesterday. Okay, that's yesterday. I was going to say, okay. Debbie sent one 350. Thank you. Then Werner sent one, and then Martin Williams Barnard gave 700. Wow, that's thank you all very much. I appreciate the super chats. Did another one just come in? Or yes, Elard Descoy just gave 40 Rand. Thank you for that one. Thank you all for your super chats. Appreciate it. No, I haven't seen Arctic for a few days. He's probably busy. There's Garrett Gillich. All right, there is an OG right there. Garrett Gillich is back, man. Get a little nervous about some of my OGs not around anymore. Have they lost interest? Or are they just overwhelmed by events? That could be the possibility, too. And there's another 140 round from Moonbase. Wow. Moonbase, thank you. Hello. Hello to you. Good to see you again. Okay. Sorry about the run around at the doctor. Hope he gets... Cronier standard hasn't gotten sorted. I've been dealing with this crap for going on 20 months now. It's not getting sorted. And it's supposed to be my fault. If I just stopped doing this and went and spent all my time taking care of myself and standing on their doorstep, maybe I would get it solved. Hey, there's Malcolm. There's an OG. And there's Ronell. Aha, I'm Brian. Okay, there's some OGs coming through. And Dylan. Okay. You guys heard me. You heard me. Okay, that's good. Good to see the original viewers still here. All right, along with all the new folks. Whoa, people get sensitive there. I would like to know where these car guards are standing. They're all over the place, Storm ZA. They're all over. Hope you get the help you need. Well, Super D, I'm not getting it, so I'm just suffering. But that's life. It's life, you know. Bodies break down. Ants is here. Oh, my God. There's Ants. There's Shireen. Oh, my goodness. Look at all the OGs popping in here now. Moolah rolling in. Pack your bags. Yeah, well, it sounds good, but remember that YouTube takes 30% of that, and Uncle Sugar takes 50% of what's left. So, yeah, so it's nice, and I'm grateful for it, and thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Have you seen the post by Vessel's uncle who was attacked in his farm? I have not. I thought TV Vessel's uncle was murdered, and that was last year. Wasn't he murdered? Is that the former cheetah? Is that who we're talking about? Hank is still here every night. But we don't see you chatting. Good to see you there, Hank. There's Arctic. We'll go on strike if you let Streamlabs new premiere videos. Arctic with a 100 Nick Rose, right before you said we let everything. Listen, Nick, I can't kick you out, man. The Pie Act. We're going to talk about the Pie Act a little bit later on one of these stories. One of these huge super chats. I want to move in their spots. Oh, Storm. Okay, gotcha. There's Leovin, Jansa van Rensburg. Good to see you again. Okay, the OGs are here. They're here. You guys have just warmed my heart. Look, I appreciate all the newer viewers. You guys are amazing. Thank you for helping grow the channel. Please watch my videos. There's been YouTube has been hiding them this week. I don't know why. And look, my number of viewers dropped down to a shockingly low number for what we've done this year. And I've gone from an average of 4 million views per month down to about 2.8 million views per month, which I'm not complaining about. It's amazing, but that's not a good sign when you drop that low. Say, hey, you were 27,000 subs. I consider us. Khan, I appreciate the sentiment, but the only way you're an OG is if you were with the channel when it came originally. You have to be, in order to be an OG, you have to have been a subscriber before this channel existed, and then followed me over here eventually. All right. But yes, you've been with me for a while. 27,000 though would have put you into this year. I didn't hit 27,000 until January. So, but thank you. That's a long time subscriber. The OGs guys. I mean, look, it's not like some people are better than others. I'm very grateful. Look, there are people here who like Hendo and Erica and Arctic and the Jansa van Rensburgs and Dylan and others who have and Shireen and Ants who have been here since 2020. They still tune in. I haven't annoyed them enough that they've left yet. I haven't bored them so much that they've left yet. I am beyond grateful for that. I have people constantly trying to lie about me, slander me. People also, libeling me in the press, and other content creators attacking me. People trying to create space between me and other content creators. Thank you, Rhino Girl, for that super chat. Yeah, so to still be here. Ooh, dinars. Thank you for the 300 dinars, man. And Arno Olinga, 500 Rand. Wow, what's going on here? Why are people suddenly giving all these super chats? What is going on? What happened here, folks? Are y'all trying to keep me from leaving YouTube? I can't do Bordermicey of the day because the other ladies would be upset because they're not Bordermicey. Yeah, no, I got other people trying to create friction between content creators. The only content creator that there's never been some sort of falling out. By the way, all these falling outs, the ones that happened, I didn't do anything. People just got hairs up their asses. The only one we've never had a falling out with, well, there have been a few, but the only one that's never disappeared is Ronaldo. Ronaldo's always there. Ronaldo, when he was under the pump and he was being harassed and he was being attacked and falsely called a racist, I was there for him. But Ronaldo's always been there. When my channel was taken away, Ronaldo was there. So whatever people have to say about Ronaldo, no matter how boring they find him or how annoying they find him, he's always been there. He's been there reliably. Others haven't. Others have come and gone. Now, the other is Venit Dutoy. Venit Dutoy has always been there. Venit and I have always found time to talk to each other and do broadcasts. That's always been the case. I've had some other great folks. We've had segments that have been wonderful with Koketso and Dumo, and they've been fantastic, but they have lives and they moved on from that and they're not doing it anymore. But Ronaldo is an OG. That's right. Well, I'm an OG on Ronaldo too. I've been a paying member of Ronaldo's channel. Do you guys know that on my original YouTube account that was censored and removed for 22 months, I was still billed, even though I didn't have an account, I was still billed on the credit card every month for my membership for Ronaldo's channel, and I never canceled it. I never canceled that. I still got billed every month for the entire 22 months. I couldn't chat though. When you have members only chat, I couldn't chat because I was blocked, and I couldn't chat because that account was blocked, but I was still billed. Yeah, I could have canceled it, but I didn't to support Ronaldo. So anyway. Ingrid's a grateful newbie. Well, I'm glad you're here. Rob Beach, well done, Chris. I watch you all the time. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. DJ Quagga. See, that would have been a cool name instead of DJ Silver Eagle. DJ Quagga. All right. Such a cheek. Ronaldo's like that son you have, but you always wonder what the hell he's doing. Yeah, he's like that son that I would give a PK to because I catch him with edibles. Yeah, that's the problem with Ronaldo. He's like that son. Now, sadly, Ronaldo's young enough, he could be my offspring. But there's no truth in that. I wasn't in Dispatch back then. That was Steve Hofmeyer that was giving a concert there, not me. Just so that's clear. Arno Olinger, thank you for your 500 Rand super sticker, buddy. I appreciate that. Wow. And Rhino Girl again. Here's another one. Oh my gosh, Pero Ruwan and Gert Janssen van Ensborg, another OG. Nick Groves, another OG. And then there's DJ Quagga, and then Pero, OG since the COVID beard. Yeah, that's when I grew it. I was clean shaven when this all, well, I wasn't clean shaven. I was almost clean shaven when this all started. Okay, let's get to the news, folks. All right, this is fun. I'm enjoying it, but people want to be here for the news. Most things you pick up in PE stay with you unless you get medically removed. And Shannon gave a 14 Rand super chat. And a salute to the OGs from Maz. I thank you for that. Okay. All right, guys. We're at 826 watching the program now. We're down from that 1,300 we were getting regularly a few weeks back. It's unfortunate. I don't know where those 500 people buggered off to. They disappeared. Apparently, they must have been offended by Bob. Bob must have hurt their feelings. Yeah, Nick is the 3rd anniversary on this channel, but Nick was a member on the original channel, if I'm not mistaken, too. All right. Rhino Girl, thank you for your membership. Master and Commander. That's awesome, Rhino Girl. Woo, thank you for that. All right, news time. News time. Enough of the Bob stuff. All right, hit the like button, folks. Boy, people are leaving because I didn't do the news. Damn, people are capricious. Just disappear. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the U.S., I did a video last night because the Washington Post broke a story. If it's true, things are not going to go well for South Africa. And I say not going to go well because this will likely prompt the bill, which is in the House of Representatives, sponsored by Ronnie Jackson and by the gentleman from Michigan, the congressman from Michigan, John James. John James and Ronnie Jackson, black guy and a white guy, 2 Republicans sponsoring this bill. This bill is on the floor of the House, but they're in recess. So when they come back, it'll probably be taken up after this human rights report is read by members of Congress. Yeah, the report apparently, I haven't seen it. The Washington Post apparently got a pirated copy of the draft of the report. We don't know what the final report will say, but the Washington Post article said that included comments of things about the torture that's taking place. Well, no, I'm sorry. That wasn't Washington Post. That was another. The Daily Signal put that out. But there are people in the State Department that have been leaking this to journalists in D.C. I don't live in D.C. and I don't have any relationship with these people, so I don't have leaked stuff. I can only analyze what's coming. What I can tell you is it does seem to be very likely that the report will be very damning. Now, this is a report that I said didn't exist a few weeks ago because the DRL had posted a Twitter comment with 5 sub-comments, and people said that was a report. I said, it's not a report. I said, a guy came, they did their investigation, they'll do a report, and it might be part of the human rights report, it might be a separate report, it may be public, it may not be. Well, now we're finding out that it was in support. Samuel Sampson, went to South Africa to gather information, and of course the South Africans, without having known the methodology of what's going on, without knowing what's going on, are dismissing this, and the government saying it's nonsense. They only went to Cape Town. It really doesn't matter if they only went to Cape Town. You don't have to travel the whole country to see the depth of depravity that's happening in South Africa. You can, but you don't have to. I'm not in South Africa, and I know the depth of depravity. I mean, I've seen the police report denying a farm murder, calling it a house robbery. Total nonsense. I know what's going on in South Africa. You don't have to be there to see what's in front of our eyes. So they went there. But I wish, please know all caps, folks. That's reserved for Hendo. It's just the way things have worked out. Yes, the farm report, the report in 2023 did mention farm murders, but that report wasn't as damning. The problem is that the State Department people, some of them tend to dismiss these things. They have been part and parcel of allowing this to go on for so long. There's good people in the State Department, but there's also political activists who are bureaucrats, and they have been undermining this. The thing about this report is that the Human Rights Report, ladies and gentlemen, is a political tool. The purpose of it is to bring pressure on foreign governments who have human rights abuses. It's a political tool. The Washington Post tries to pretend that this is a new development and that the Trump administration is doing something out of the ordinary. Kind of like the frauds that are saying Trump is breaking the law by seizing control of Washington, D.C. No. The District of Columbia is the District of Columbia. It's not a sovereign state like Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Maryland, Nebraska. Those are sovereign states inside the United States where the Constitution has preeminence. And there is there's a clause in the Constitution which gives the federal government supremacy, but District of Columbia is federal property. The District of Columbia is a federal district under the control of Congress and the executive branch. They gave them limited home rule in the 1970s with a law, a stupid law, 1973. And as a consequence, they have a government which has been ineffective. Although some people claim Muriel Bowser is the best mayor they've had in decades. But given the low standard for mayoral conduct in D.C., people like Marion Barry, that is not exactly a high bar to get over. So what President Trump is doing in Washington, D.C. is perfectly legal. It follows the law to the letter of the law, just like everything else he does. And they all claim he's not doing it. Redistricting is illegal. No, it's not. The Republicans are stealing seats. No, they're not. The Democrats stole seats with a fraudulent census in 2020, a lying, fictitious census which created tens of millions of non-existent illegal aliens and people that didn't exist by putting them in there by saying that Hispanics were undercounted. So instead of 100,000 here, there must have been 400,000, and stole congressional districts from Republicans. There would be 19 seat shift if the truth were told. 17 or 19 seats actually belong to the Republicans. So that would give them 17 more and 17 less for the Democrats. That would be under 200 seats. And this would be a huge Republican majority in the House. The same thing would happen. So this is, these people talk out their ass and know what they're talking about. Let's get to this story, though. U.S. escalates human rights criticisms of South Africa and Brazil. So here's the thing. I'm going to show you the fake news. You can go read this article on your own at the Washington Post if you like. But I want to show you the fake news aspect of this. Let me find this very quickly here. Here it is. This paragraph right here. The report for South Africa focuses on what the Trump administration says is land expropriation of Afrikaners and further abuses against racial minorities in the country. Now, there is nothing wrong with that statement. That probably comes as a condensation of what comes out of this draft report. Very well. That's fine. That's the topic at hand. Human rights abuses. That's there. Then the draft documents show Trump has claimed the country's white minority faced a genocide. Factually incorrect. That's a lie. Washington Post, that's a lie. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. When Trump was asked the question in May at the White House by a South African reporter, do you believe in the white genocide? Trump said, I'm not convinced of that. That's what Trump said. That's the truth. This white genocide is a fabrication of leftist media. They're the ones lying. They're the ones lying. And that has nothing to do with the topic. Though human rights groups and even some Afrikaner groups have resoundingly dismissed that as untrue. But they don't mention what human rights groups. They don't mention which Afrikaner groups have dismissed it. And that isn't germane to the story. That is what we call fake news, propaganda, editorializing in what's listed as a news report. Well, South Africa's equity laws. They're not equity laws. South Africa's racist laws. South Africa's racist, racially discriminatory laws. They're not equity laws. The New York Slimes runs a story calling it their equity laws. Now, this is by John Elegant. I don't think that John picked the title. John, of course, I've interacted with. John is the New York Times reporter who interviewed Thea and others. I helped facilitate that. John, this title is not appropriate. They're not equity laws. They're racially discriminatory laws. So let me ask this question. Was the apartheid era of separate development and keeping blacks from doing things, was that equity for Afrikaners who were nearly obliterated during the Anglo-Boer War and who were marginalized until Jan Christian Smuts and his government were thrown out in 1948? Was those equity laws? They were discriminatory, racially discriminatory. So these are racially discriminatory. They're not equity laws. This is propaganda. If you want to say South Africa's broad-based black and African empowerment laws, don't say equity laws. They're not equity laws. That's propaganda. Slap with a steep tariff, South Africa officials hope for a deal, but somewhere the U.S. may insist that the rollback measures that redress the damage of apartheid. No, BE doesn't redress the damage of apartheid, John. I'm sorry, that's factually incorrect. It creates a rich, elite coterie of caters. Trump administration made its animosity towards some of those laws clear. I've had problems with South Africa. President Trump said last week they have some very bad policies. The government has not hesitated to use tariffs to punish other countries' domestic policies, though it has yet to raise South Africa's racial equity laws and trade talks. It hasn't. So why is this story running, John? Why is this story running? And they're not racial equity laws. I'm going to write to John Elegant and tell him that there's no such thing as racial equity laws. They're not racial equity laws. That's dishonest. That's not objective. It cannot be equity if it suppresses a minority. It's a racist law. It's not equity. That's fiction. Well, South Africa apparently wants to come to the table and talk trade. Wow, gosh, let's see. We've had since April 3rd to talk about trade. Here it is mid-August. And now Parks Tao wants to talk trade. Well, it's a bit late. It's a bit late, but never too late. South Africa will submit a revised offer for trade deal in Washington on Tuesday. in an effort to lower the 30% tariff. The government of Africa's biggest economy. Sorry, that's also wrong, Reuters. Who wrote this one? Nellie Payton. South Africa is not the largest economy in Africa. After Nigeria finally rebased their economy and based it on actual, legitimate 21st century data about 5 years ago, Nigeria's economy is nearly twice as large as South Africa's. South Africa is not even close to being the largest economy in Africa. That's a joke. That is old news. Cabinet has approved that South Africa submits a revised offer on the basis of negotiation with the U.S. The new offer is a substantial response to issues the U.S. has raised in the National Trade Estimates report. Containers of poultry and pork were to be shipped from U.S. to South Africa in 2 weeks' time, showing that these issues have been resolved, Park says. Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen previously said Trump's team felt South Africa's initial offer for a trade deal was not ambitious enough. Steenhuisen said the new offer was broad, generous, and open that I think meets the ambition criteria. If one was to look through this trade and tariff perspective, I think this offer represents something that would be good for the United States and also good for South Africa. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. Funny, she gets the byline, but it says Nellie Payton, writing by Alexander Winning and Sufundu Parakozov, editing by Rachina Upal. Yeah, I'm sorry, Reuters, that report's bullshit. Well, South Africa, as I said, will submit their new trade offer, and it will probably fall on deaf ears because South Africa doesn't have anything the U.S. wants because of its behavior. The arrogance of the South African politicians, including those two sitting right there, are epic. At media conference in Pretoria, Trade and Industry Competition Minister Parks Towell and John Steenhuisen said there have been engagements with the U.S. representatives this week. Well, now I believe they finally are talking to the U.S., but they weren't doing it for 4 months. I do ever think that we have a good hard look at what our barriers to access to markets around the world are and look at how we can remove as many of them as possible without compromising our own national sovereignty. The question you would ask yourself, there's a legal saying, mutatis mutandis, would that country allow you to demand the same of them? And I think that should be the rule of thumb going forward. Okay, well, that is the rule that we're using. Would you allow our goods to come in your country duty-free? We let yours come in here. Argument's over. That's the end of that conversation. That's the end of that conversation. Who said that? Was it Tao or was it Steenhuisen? I think it's Steenhuisen. John Steenhuisen, will you give us zero tariffs? We gave you 25 years, zero tariffs. Boy, I tell you what, man, you just know how to put your foot right in your mouth. So you're alluding to things that aren't even part of the trade. Because I know what this is about. This is about BE and stuff, which aren't even the reason for the trade tariffs. That's not for the tariffs. That's what the South African media and these corrupt politicians keep telling you. It's not about that. Those are preconditions for a diplomatic relationship. They weren't preconditions for a trade agreement. Stupid, stupid politicians. Well, the revised trade deal is all the news in South Africa. Here's Times Live. It's on its way. Well, thank you, Parks. Thank you very much. Let's see what we got to say. Tal said South Africa has addressed sanitary, photosanitary, and biosecurity protocols affecting poultry, where South Africa granted access under a conditional self-ban and self-lifting system. Blueberries, where market access is granted for states free of fruit fly, and pork, where access is granted subject to biosecurity requirements. Yeah, that's not enough. That's simply not enough. Your quotas on our trade, your limits on the number of automobiles we can ship into South Africa. People want to buy Jeeps. I've seen them. People are popular with Jeeps. But we can only ship a handful of vehicles to your country. And it's funny because Jeep doesn't even belong to Americans. It's owned by the Italians now. So many of our brands have been sold off to foreign competitors. Heinz is not American anymore. It belongs to Brazil. It's ridiculous. Anyway, one day they'll try to sell Hershey off. No, not good enough. Well, some of the truth comes in amongst the propaganda. Here's a truth story in the Financial Times. Thank you, Mark Wills, for subscribing. Yes, I appreciate that. The Super Chats died off. I wish they'd come back. So, grapes of wrath. South African wineries hit with 30% U.S. tariffs. Country faces steeper levies than rivals in Europe or South America after Donald Trump's attacks over affirmative action. That's a lie, Rob Rose. That's a lie. That's a lie. Trump did not attack affirmative action. That's a lie. And it's not affirmative action. It's racism. I'm sorry. Are you confused? You know what? So I'm sorry, Rob Rose. That just deserves, what can we say? That is just unacceptable to gaslight people with that nonsense. And you got to be careful. There he is. There he is. I told you, man. Here he comes. There he is right there. There's Bob. Bugger off, Bob. That's for you, Rob Rose. Yep. Bugger off, Bob. Doesn't like your propaganda. Yep. Doesn't like your propaganda. So, Yeah, Trump is not attacking affirmative action policies. Trump is demanding reciprocity in trade. Why are these idiots so hard-pressed to listen to the truth? Two separate, unrelated issues. Stop limiting our trade. Stop taking advantage of your duty-free access through AGOA into America while screwing American producers. Simple as that. And by the way, how about you deal with your corrupt customs and immigration officials who demand 80% tariffs that don't exist on goods imported by people sending private things, gifts to their family and friends? When I sent $77 worth of goods, hats, and a couple little sachets of pumpkin spice latte to South Africa, I paid $325 for delivery by air through DHL. After getting raped by DHL, getting screwed by them, because that's what they charge, I didn't pay for it. The people wanted it, paid me back. After paying for that, then the goods were stuck in the airport for 3 months while they demanded $450 worth of customs duties. Folks, $450. That is over 400%, almost 500% tariffs. That's what we have a problem with. That's the issue. And that's the one not even in discussion here. Thank you, Sambi. That is the problem. That is the problem. Okay, if you're asking me questions during the news, I'm not going to see them, folks. If you've asked a question, someone named Ann is unhappy I didn't ask a question. Are you not paying attention? I'm doing the news. It's difficult for me to address that. Please be patient. Thank you, Sam, for your membership. And thank you for the super sticker there, Rob. If you have questions, please wait till after the news, and I'll be happy to address them as best I can. It's impossible for me to do that without disrupting the news. Try to get through the news. I mean, I've got a lot of news articles to get through here today. So, 30% tariffs. It is not, Rob Rose, because of affirmative action. It's because of the unfair trade policies that South Africa and about 90 countries around the world have used to cheat American producers out of access to their market for decades. South Africa's vineyards, known for their Pinotage and Chenin Blanc, actually better known for me for different wines, but anyway, are bracing for a hit after 30% U.S. tariffs left them at a sharp disadvantage to international winemakers. South Africa's largest economy, no, it's not, it's Nigeria, exports $500 million a year in wine. And the U.S. was its fourth largest market last year after UK, Germany, and the Netherlands. 30% tariff on South Africa, which went into effect last week, exceeds the 15% on France, Italy, and Spain, as well as the 10% on Australia, Argentina, and Chile, all wine producers. Tariffs could have an outsized impact on the industry, employing 270,000 people in a country where 1 in 3 cannot find a job. U.S. is the biggest consumer market for wine globally, so many South African producers have put a considerable amount of effort into building up relationships there. About 200 South Africa's 512 wine estates export to the U.S., many of which would be highly exposed to the tariffs. Yep. Devet Fillon, chief winemaker at the Wildekans estate, about an hour southeast of Cape Town, said the U.S. was its largest export market at 20% of sales. Our American agents who stockpile wine ahead of the tariffs haven't placed any new orders either, so there's a lot of uncertainty. Yep. Donald Trump has repeatedly attacked South Africa, discredited claim of that genocide is happening. That's a lie, Rob Rose. That is an absolute lie. Donald Trump has not attacked South Africa over genocide. Donald Trump said he didn't believe, he wasn't convinced that there is a genocide. Start reporting the truth and stop reporting propaganda, Financial Times. See, this is the problem. They have editors that are stupid or complicit. If I was an editor, that would never been in this article, never been allowed in this article. I would have said that Donald Trump has raised concerns about the topic that people mentioned white genocide, but had said that he wasn't convinced that there was one. That's facts. That's the truth, not propaganda, not propaganda. Well, we'll just have to adjust. Yeah, well, you waited forever. It's too late to adjust. Your fruit's going to rot now. The citrus industry tells Parks Tao. And John C. Nuzzin, target new markets. Good luck with that. You know, you can manufacture a pair of reading glasses and then put them on the shelf, stack them in the corner, and go try to find agents in Taiwan, in Indonesia, in Singapore to buy your glasses manufactured in South Africa. You can do that. But go ahead and stick those oranges on the shelf and go to developed markets. Let's see how that goes for you. Morons. Total morons. Do you know what it takes to develop a market overseas, to penetrate a market, particularly when the whole world is trying to do this? Stupid people should wear signs. Here's your sign. You know, I was wondering about your orange. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see your sign. Stupid people. Stupid people. 30% tariff on South African citrus would push prices up by about $4.25 a carton in the U.S., putting South Africa at risk of losing market share to Chile and Peru, which only face 10% tariff. Yep. According to Hannes Duval, chief executive of Sunday's River Citrus Company and a board member of the Citrus Growers Association, the industry expects a favorable outcome from tariff negotiations with the U.S., if not now, then soon. Well, I hope you're right. I also interviewed the head of the Citrus Growers Association here recently on the channel, and they've made preparations for it, but he wasn't quite as sunny as that. He was honest. This story appears in Bloomberg Law. Tariff hit South Africa targets Asian buyers for farm produce. Yeah. The priority is export more to China, where duty-free access has been secured for 5 years. That's not true. John Steenhuisen lied. That is not true. He says you've got duty-free access to China's market, but only if you offer duty-free access to the Chinese. The Chinese made their conditions clear, unless something's changed. John, has something changed? When China announced it was rescinding tariffs against African countries back in June, it said so with a proviso that they eliminate all tariffs on Chinese imports. Has South Africa done that? Not to my knowledge. So, great to hear that you've eliminated tariffs. I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a heartbeat. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Well, folks, according to the Daily Investor, the rand is much weaker than people realize. Well, and I agree. Although South African rand strengthened against the dollar, it weakened against other currencies. One of the world's most volatile currencies because of domestic problems and global investor sentiment. Many investors saw the GNU as an avenue of reform. It's not that. They anticipated the new government would address structural issues. It has not. The market loved the news because you're all suckers that bought into it. It went from well above 19 to the dollar to 17.10 by September 2024. Since then, there have been many ups and downs. Foreign investors who previously benefited from unhedged exposure to the United States assets are increasingly hedging, effectively selling dollars and applying depreciation. That's why the dollar is not as strong as it should be. Yeah, that's why. So, well, John Steenhuisen and the Democratic Alliance held a big press conference on Monday, and nobody came. Nobody watched it. Nobody watched it. Where they announced 6 reform platforms to fix South Africa, most of which are pretty good ideas, but they're also 25 years too late. And how can you have this when you're part of the GNU that's avowed to bring you the lovely vicissitudes of the National Democratic Revolution with expropriation without compensation, national health insurance, government takeover of healthcare, the black tax, taking 3% of corporate profits and giving it to black South Africans exclusively. That's called racism. And the BELA, Basic Laws, Education Laws Amendment Act, which takes away local control of schools and hands it over to feckless racists in the Gauteng Department of Education. This is what's been achieved under the government of national unity. This is what is there while the DA sat around and was complicit in these crimes against South Africans. Democratic Alliance announced reform proposals aimed at empowering state-owned entities, which it claims offer a better alternative to BE. Empowering state-owned entities. Do you see the problem? That's the first problem right there. This is a left-of-center political party, this being the center of the microphone. Left, right is over there. It may appear differently on your screen, but that's my left and right. Left, the DA, not a centrist party. Not a conservative party. Certainly not a right-wing party, which is what the ANC has been trying to describe them as. They're a left-of-center party. They like state ownership of the economy. They like state-owned enterprises. The only difference for the DA is they think they can run them better. Guess what? They can't. They can't. The DA is incapable of running SAA, Eskom, Airports Company South Africa, Transnet, or any of the other abominations controlled by a feckless, incompetent, thieving, moronic, inept government. They would be no better at it than the ANC. Trust me, no better at it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here's an interesting story. We should talk to Joe Mealy about this. He's become kind of the subject matter expert on the PI Act. Cape Town couple and dad get 3 months to find cheaper housing after defaulting on rent. Western Cape High Court has given a Plumstead couple and an elderly man until November to find more affordable accommodation after they fell behind in the rent. Judge told them that they could not stay on the property if they could not afford to pay for it. Adrian Ling, his wife and father, lived the property the past 2 years for a monthly rent of $22,000. Ling's father relied on investment from his pension to cover the rent, but the funds eventually ran out. To make matters worse, Ling and his wife battled to find work. Eventually, they were given the option to renew their lease in May, but they did not do so. And then they went into arrears on the rental payments, and the bill built up to 140,000 rand. So Judge Pinda Njokwene responded, as early as May 25, you were served papers. You can't stay on the property forever. I'm sorry, really? Then why is the Tigerberg Raceway not the Tigerberg Raceway? Why is that? Why weren't those people evicted? Because they were black? Is that why? Do black people have better rights than coloreds and whites? Is that why? So the court is telling these people under the PI Act, they have a legal basis to stay there. They can't be evicted. It's too bad for the owner. But because I don't know, Ling, are they colored? Are they Indian? Are they white? I don't know. Are they black? I doubt it. So they have to leave. They have to leave. But scumbags can steal and sell land they don't own at the Tigerberg Raceway. Do you see the selective enforcement of the law? And Cape Town under the DA said, well, there's nothing we could do. Nothing we could do. This is the Western Cape. This is the Western Cape. What can you do about this? Who controls Western Cape? Alan Winde. Who controls Cape Town? The DA, Jordan Hill Lewis. You can't keep these people from being evicted from their residence, but you can allow the Tigerberg Raceway to be taken over. Your hands are tied. Bullshit. Bullshit. I don't agree with the PI Act. It's illegitimate. It undermines the rule of law. But you can't selectively apply it when it benefits black folks. Do you know who it really benefit? Ling is a Chinese name, Charles. I'm aware of that. But it's also a derivation of Lingen. And that's happened too. I've seen colored people where they drop letters from the word. So I don't know these people's origin. But I'm pretty confident it's not black. But regardless of whether they're black, white, or brown, really isn't the issue here. The issue here is that the court is going to evict them, but they didn't evict anybody at the Tigerberg Raceway. Why is that? Why is that? Racist, scumbag, ineptitude governments selectively applying the law. At least the National Party wasn't selective in its application of its racist laws. Well, the Open Chats podcast is apologized. Oh, guys, it's all better now. It's all better. Yeah, no, it's okay. Things are cool now. We're cool. It's all better now. You know, the Open Chats podcast, they're going to learn about what racism is, and they're going to educate themselves on human rights. Oh, dear gosh. The offensive episode has been removed from the site, and the podcasters have pledged to educate themselves on human rights. Isn't that special? Open Chat's podcast hosts Mtokozi Zizi Metula and Sinutando Kama have issued an apology for the derogatory remarks they made on their platform about the colored community. Popular podcasts recently came under fire for remarks which promoted damaging stereotypes and sweeping generalizations. But now they're apologizing, so it's all okay. Okay, let me be very clear about what I've said about this position. I am not embroiled in this whole thing about let's cancel them. I don't agree with canceling them. I don't agree with that. Free speech is free speech. Calling people names, if it hurts your feelings, it hurts your feelings. I get called names every day. Nobody goes to jail. No one gets canceled for the abuse of me. So the issue here is that when people act outside the norms of society, we shun them. We avoid them. We don't watch their podcasts. We don't watch their DSTV program. But canceling them, that's what cowards do. That's what commies do. By the way, I think I'm going to reach out to them and ask them to come on the program because I champion coloreds in South Africa, and let's let them defend themselves. Let's let them come on here and defend themselves. Okay. Gate McKenzie says he will not apologize for his comments on Twitter, and he shouldn't. He shouldn't. We should just ignore Gate McKenzie. Says he won't apologize for racist posts, even if Ramaphosa asks. Well, they weren't racist. They were just insulting. Sports, Arts, and Culture Minister Gate McKenzie has changed his tune, and he has changed his name, and says he won't apologize for allegations of racism after old tweets using the K word to refer to black people resurfaced. Why would I apologize for something I didn't do? Even if the president says I must apologize for racism, I will not because I wasn't racist. Maybe I'd be so desperate for a job that I start apologizing for stuff. No, I'm another type of guy. Well, I'm sorry, Gayton. You did say things that were offensive, and you don't have to apologize. Yep. As far as my job is concerned, I have so much love for the president that if he tells me now to resign, I'll resign and go. I'll continue to praise Ramaphosa even if he fires me. Oh, my goodness. Fix the market or you go to jail. Woo! My goodness. A judge put Schwane mayor and the city manager on notice. Schwane's mayor, who Action SA loves to endlessly promote as the genius saving the town that's falling apart, Dr. Nasipwe, Dr. Nasifi Moya and municipal manager Johan Mettler face a month in jail if they don't comply with a court order. They've been ordered to fix their fresh produce market by providing with a full suite of municipal services. The judge says that Schwani could not show it had carried out improvements it promised to do back in 2022. Now, to be fair, she wasn't the mayor in 2022. So why should she go to jail for that? But they want to put the mayor of Action SA in jail. How will that go, Herman? Herman Mashaba, it's racist. They put her in jail because she's black. It's racist. Yeah, okay, Herman. Thank you. Appreciate that. Please take a seat in the back of the auditorium, Herman Mashaba. Yes. Yep. Hank's Old Irish Pub. Christopher Logan, the export that we don't want, will you please take him back? We've given you back Trevor Noah. Would you please take Charlize Theron? And while you're at it, take this clown too. Christopher Logan, the man who started a fake race-hustling narrative about Hank's Old Irish Pub, virtually destroying their business and the reputations of the two owners, for God knows what reason, what this guy was up to. He had a default judgment against him for 1,250,000 rand. He ran away to America, didn't make his court appearance, and then didn't file an appeal and was given a default judgment against him. And now he's fighting with a lawyer, and the lawyer says, well, we tried to negotiate with them, but they won't negotiate with us. What the hell is this? The same judge that oversaw the Jocelyn Smith case is the one that oversaw this. They rescind the judgment. What the hell is that all about? The business has suffered irreparable harm to the reputation. The owner's reputation is trashed. All the newspapers, all the stories, all the media, all the videos talking about them being racist with no evidence of it whatsoever. Thankfully, they stood up for themselves. Not to mention the hundreds of thousands of rand in legal fees they had to pay because this jerk-off falsely accused them of racism in an incident that he fabricated. He went back there and fabricated an incident, and it was caught on video. Yeah, anyway, so, ladies and gentlemen, there is no warrant of arrest for the National Police Commissioner. Well, I didn't think there was, but apparently a rumor has been spreading around social media that there's an arrest warrant out. The National Prosecuting Authority's investigating directorate against corruption says there's no warrant of arrest for National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola. Well, I didn't think there was. Contrary to what's been reported in the media, untrue allegations, no such warrants have been issued. Well, I didn't report it. I reported there wasn't one. Just like I said, reported there wasn't one for Cyril Ramaphosa or for Gwede Mantashe. South Africa's aviation sector is suffering. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe your racist policies might have something to do with it there, Barbara Creasy, you commie. Here you go. The ANC's lone white member. SA aviation sector faces talent drain as pilots retire or leave the country. Transport Minister Barbara Communist Creasy expressed concern over the growing number of South African aviators retiring or taking up jobs abroad. She highlighted the importance of investing in youth through accessible training. Highlight the importance of investing in youth. Yeah, let me translate that. Whites need not apply. No coloreds. No room at the end for Indians. Only black South Africans can apply. Correct, Barbara? Correct? I'm pretty sure. Mark Nelson, thank you for the description. I'm pretty sure that that's what's going on here. Okay? Yeah. Creasy was speaking at the Next Generation Aviation Professional Summit at the Durban International Convention Center today. Yep. She said that while the sector may offer substantial opportunities, these will not materialize unless it addresses one fundamental challenge, the need for a new generation of skilled professionals. Well, stop your racist hiring policies and people will do it. People will go there. Well, a police officer jailed for killing his partner has been freed after 1 year in prison. 2 months after a man who confessed to killing his girlfriend was set free in technicality, having served just more than a year of a life sentence, the victim's father shocked to run into him on the street. Startled by seeing Atholanang William Mosane in Rustenburg and not in prison where he was supposed to be serving a life sentence, Charles Motolodi immediately called his wife Winnie to tell her they'd just seen their daughter's killer. At the time, the family were still trying to piece their lives together after he murdered their daughter. We knew that he got a life sentence, so we're in a state of shock. We didn't know what to do. We are tired. For 2 years, we went up and down in court. We don't even know what steps to take. In March of 2021, Mosasani, a traffic officer, shot Motodi 5 times in front of their son in Tlabane. After the murder, he handed himself over to police. He was released on bail, and during the trial, he pled guilty to murder. He received a life sentence in November 2023. He appealed his conviction and sentence, accusing the magistrate of having erred by not ensuring there were assessors during the trial. The appeal was upheld. The conviction and sentence were set aside. What the fuck? He murdered this woman in front of their child. Shot her 5 times as a cop. He admitted to the murder. He was sentenced, convicted of prison, a murder, went to jail, and released after a year. This is why America has a problem with South Africa. This is why we have a problem, Cyril Ramaphosa. By the way, she's not white. We're standing up for South Africans, you racist pigs. That's not a white lady. That's a black lady. And this is wrong. This is wrong. This is the problem with South Africa. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The murderers get out and they come back and they murder again and again and again. Man, walking down the street, you think you'd have the decency to at least move somewhere else. Can you imagine that? You walk down the street and see your daughter's murderer, a man who shot her, he slept with her, produced offspring. She gave him a child, and in front of that child, he murdered her in cold blood. This man has no impulse control. Well, more good news, a man was found with his throat slit in Philippi. Good Lord. Residents of Lower Crossroads in Philippi, East Cape Town were shocked on Tuesday morning after discovering the body of a man with his throat slit. Believed to be in his 30s, is thought to have been killed overnight. When found, his T-shirt was pulled up, exposing his stomach, and his trousers were lowered to his knees. However, his private parts were covered by another pair of trousers that he was wearing underneath. This is scary. We didn't hear anything. We just woke up to his body. To slit a person's throat and kill him? How do people begin to do something like this? Communities policing forums said they were unaware of the incident and could not comment. Really? You're unaware of the incident? I know about it. I'm in Pennsylvania. Get your act together. Get informed. Know what the hell's going on in your neighborhood. Community policing forum. Well, that's not correct. The Miss South Africa Organizing Committee says these are just rumors. Miss South Africa organizers have denied speculation this year's pageant was canceled. This followed Stephanie Weil's resignation as organization's CEO and withdrawal from the International Miss Supranational. As questions continue to linger about when this year's pageant will take place, organizers have denied speculation it's been canceled. That's not correct. It's still going to happen. Really? Let's see. Thank you for the 14 Rand, Boss Luis. Appreciate that. Well, here's some good news, folks. Here's some good news. Away from all this tragedy and horror, here's some good news from South Africa before we get on to the rest of the world. This lawyer has been going after those exploiting minor children. Those kids are being blackmailed and sending compromising photos of themselves, which are basically child pornography. Sadlier is fighting online creeps, and how she took on Facebook and what? She loves whipping up spaghetti bolognese for her husband and kids and makes sure that she finds time for the gym and occasionally wear a frilly dress for a 5-year-old daughter picks out. Yeah, but Emma Sadler has another side. Away from family, she encounters disturbing content, children being sexually groomed online, and minors blackmailed into sharing explicit photos. She's got a book out now, How Not to Mess Up Online, A Teenager's Guide to Not Getting Catfished, Sued, Arrested, Canceled, or Addicted. Emma Sadler and Rourke Wilson. Congratulations on your book, Emma. She's a lawyer and she's fighting against the dark side of social media. Her home in Sandton was full of light and warmth. Also houses her law firm, the Digital Law Company, where she works to protect children, even taking on tech giants like Meta. Yep, so the 40-year-old has been fighting to protect kids. Congratulations, well done on her part. Yep, she fought Meta and won. She fought the law and won. Well, she fought for the law. And there she is with her book. Apparently, she's one of South Africa's leading experts when it comes to social media law and is passionate about helping children stay safe online. Yep, there you go. She's also gone after some more WhatsApp. Well, the Springboks had a shock announcement. Brasi announced the team on Monday. We usually have to wait till Thursday or Friday, but the team announcement came out. Look at this, folks. Springbok coach Rossi Erasmus said Monday team announcement press conference that was informed by the amount of time the players have spent together. Yeah. Erasmus named his match day 23 for Saturday's opening championship game at Ellis Park on Monday instead of Thursday. Wow. What's up with that? And here's the team. Afi Afase at fullback, and on the right wing is Ed Wolfondemir, little speedster. In the center, Jesse Creel. Inside is Andre Esterhuizen. On the left wing, it's the fantastic Kurtley Arnse. Monty Libbuck gets the nod as the fly half. Some people seem to think that he makes him the first choice. It doesn't. Grant Williams at scrum half. Sia Khaleesi is once again the captain, wearing the number 8 jersey. Peter Steph Dutoy, 2-time World Player of the Year. Marco van Staden Eskom. And then the locks are Luti Jager, back from injury, and Eben Etzebeth. In the front row, it's Wilco Low, Malcolm Marks, and Oxen Shea. Off the bench, Bongiam Benambi, Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Asanate Labakanye, Franco Mostart, Quagga Smith, Kobus Reinach, Kanan Moody, and Damien Willemse. There you go. That is what it looks like. Well, Monty supposedly is kicking well. Well, we'll see what happens during the game. Boy, look at all this effort to pump up Monty in the press. News 24 keeps talking about how great Monty is, but we've all watched Monty. I was a fan that first season in the URC when he played for the Stormers and they won the title. He was fantastic, but since then he's been very suspect off the tee. We lost a game to Argentina we never should have lost because this guy couldn't hit a freaking kick right in front of the post. While the jury's out of Monty Lubbock's goal kicking, Springbok coach Rossi Rasmus putting his weight behind the flaff and hoping he fires on all cylinders in their clash against Australia. Should it come down to kicking for post and Monty is having an off day, he'll pin his hopes on backup boots of starting fullback Ophelia Fassi and replacement utility back Damien Willemse. And that's what I said yesterday, Charles. I said it will probably be Damien Willemse. Well, turning our attention to Kenya, people in Kenya are disillusioned with Starlink. I've told you guys, Starlink is not the answer. It's the answer for rural areas where you have no access to broadband. But if you live in an urban area where you have broadband, it's not the answer because it can't compete with fiber. It can't compete with cable. And Kenyans are discovering that. Starlink lost 10% of subscribers in Kenya in the first quarter of this year. The high cost of the service and slow speeds in urban areas have deterred many users. Yep. Some Kenyans have turned to Elon Musk's Starlink satellite communication service after the government tried to restrict access to the internet at last year's protests. But now they're losing subscribers because they're not getting the service they thought they were getting. That's not a dig on Starlink. I've told you Starlink is very good for what it's designed for, helping people in rural areas, remote areas that don't have access. It's great. You get ubiquitous global access, one provider all over the planet. And it's not like freaking, what do we used to pay? Gosh, that was such an expensive thing. Used to pay $9 a minute for internet access back in the day for the government. It was crazy. Through a satellite. Yeah, anyway. Nigeria says that its military has taken out dozens of gang members. The military in Nigeria said it killed more than 100 armed gang members, taking them out in a joint air-ground operation in the northwestern state of Zamfara. It took place in the early hours over Sunday in the Bukuyum local government area. The move came after more than 400 gang members were seen preparing to attack a village. Well, it's a shame they didn't take out 400. They took out 100, but that's a start. An Israeli airstrike kills a prominent Al Jazeera journalist and colleagues. This story is getting a lot of attention, folks, a lot of attention. There's a small problem with it, though. There's a small problem with it. There's a small problem with it. Is this guy really a journalist? Is he really a journalist? Honestly. I mean, this is what this guy posted on October 7th. This is the journalist, the so-called journalist. This is what he posted on October 7th. Anas al-Sharif, 9 hours and the heroes are still roaming the country, killing and capturing. God, God, how great you are. This is the guy that the world is losing its mind over, that Journalists Without Borders are saying was murdered. This is the guy. That's an objective journalist. That's an Al Jazeera journalist. That's the people you have sympathy for. Spare me. Spare me. That's just one of his tweets. He's got plenty of other. He's got stuff on Telegram. Yep. So National Public Radio says journalists cried out in disbelief Sunday night as they stepped into a press tent that had been hit by an Israeli airstrike, targeting this territory's most prominent, well-recognized journalist. He's not a journalist. He is a Hamas activist. The Committee to Protect Journalists called Israel's allegations against al-Sharif, which he rebutted before his killing, unsubstantiated. No, they're not unsubstantiated. We saw his sentiments. That's not what an independent journalist puts on there. Nobody's removing your chats, Anna Kruger. What are you talking about? Nobody's removing your chats. What are you talking about? Are you asking questions of me? Are you the person who was asking questions and you were told to wait? There is not a single message of yours removed in here. If there's a message being removed for you, then you're writing something that Google doesn't like and YouTube has banned you. They have ultimate control. They have ultimate control. No one's removing your messages. Stop making that claim. It's not true. Otherwise, you're just trolling. No one's taking your messages out. I will take your message out if you keep saying that. Trump's tariffs spark calls in India for boycott American goods. Go ahead, boycott our goods. We won't buy your tatas. We'll send your 3 million Indians back to India. From McDonald's and Coca-Cola, Amazon, Apple, U.S.-based multinationals are facing calls for boycott in India as business executives and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's supporters stoke anti-American sentiment to protest against U.S. tariffs. Two Chinese ships collide during a harassment operation. Video shows People's Liberation Army warship hitting Coast Guard cutter pursuing Philippines vessel. Look at these morons. They think they're clever. They hit each other. Stupid Chinese. Chinese warship collided with one of its Coast Guard vessels in South China Sea yesterday as both ships pursued a Philippine Coast Guard vessel. Dramatic video of the incident near the disputed Scarborough Shoal posted on social media showed that Chinese Coast Guard cutter sustained a crushed bow. Philippine Coast Guard spokesman Commodore J. Torella called the Chinese collision reckless. It is reckless. These people are out of control. It's time for the 7th Fleet to patrol the South China Sea and start putting a stop to these Chinese threats to the Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, Taiwan, and others operating there, and global shipping lanes. Well, meanwhile, the U.S. and China have agreed to critical extension preventing tariff surge on the world's two largest economies. 90-day extension to work this out. U.S. and China agreed to pause tariff hikes on each other's goods for an additional 90 days, according to an executive order signed by President Trump. Without the agreements, the tariffs were set to surge immediately. The news, first reported by CNBC, came hours ahead of the midnight deadline when tariffs on Chinese goods were set to rise from 54 from 30%, and Chinese tariffs on American exports were returned to 34 from 10%. Well, the Chi-Coms are going to have to back down, or they're going to get it. So, does it matter? Is the U.S. even an important market for the Chi-Coms? It is. It is an important market. It's not the biggest market. The European Union, which is not a market, but a collection of 30 countries, 26, 30 countries. So it is the largest market for China. The European Union is up 7% in trade, but that's a collection of 30 countries. The U.S. is a single country with $215 billion, down by 10, 11%. So that was about $230 billion in trade. Now it's gone down. That's the first half of the year. That's just half a year. Just half a year. So what's next? Well, Canada is cutting its own throat because it's run by stupid leftists. Canada has allowed a First Nation to claim land owned by the government. Yes, a recent BC court decision granted title to a First Nation group, bringing up questions what it means for property rights in the province. Yeah, what is property rights when you have capricious judges that steal your land and give it to a group that lost the land? The August 7 decision by British Columbia Supreme Court Justice Barbara Young is a culmination of a lawsuit filed in 2019 by the Cowichan Nation, who successfully argued that areas of territory in British Columbia's lower mainland belongs to them. How? The plaintiff argued the areas in question were the site and surrounding area of the Cowichan Nation's village, according to historical and archaeological evidence, but the area was not declared by the government as Cowichan Reserve Land in 1846 and was sold and granted to private buyers starting in 1871. Hudson's Bay Company, a chartered corporate monopoly with near sovereign powers over large amounts of Canadian territories, who acted as territorial governor and landowner under British imperial authority until the land was transferred to Canada, recorded 108 longhouses at the site in 1824 and officially chartered the village in 1827 on historical maps. The Crown has not explicitly recognized that village as Cowichan land, but holds extensive historical records affirming its existence. A 513-day trial. The city of Richmond and its dike and infrastructure on the land in question are important for the city's 230,000 residents, putting $100 billion in infrastructure at risk. The land is underdeveloped and not occupied, ruling that the land's importance to Cowichan far outweighs its significance to Richmond. That's what they argue. Well, that's the Canadians. We sit on stolen land. We recognize our theft. But we're not going anywhere. Stupid Canadians. Not all of them, but enough of them. President Trump issued an executive order for restoring law and order in the District of Columbia, a federal district. As President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief of the District of Columbia National Guard, it's my solemn duty to protect law-abiding citizens from the destructive forces of criminal activity. That obligation applies with special force in our nation's capital, where as Commander-in-Chief of the District of Columbia National Guard, I must ensure that all citizens can avail themselves of the right to interact with their elected representatives and that the federal government can properly function without fear of being subjected to violent, menacing street crime. Local government of the District of Columbia has lost control of public order and safety in the city, as evidenced by the 2 embassy staffers who were murdered in May, the congressional intern who was fatally shot a short distance from the White House in June, and the administration staffer who was mercilessly beaten by a violent mob days ago. Citizens, tourists, and staff alike are unable to live peacefully in the nation's capital, which is under a siege from violent crime. It is a point of national disgrace that Washington, D.C. has a violent crime rate that is higher than some of the most dangerous places in the world. It's my duty to our citizens and federal workers to ensure the safety and peaceful functioning of our nation, the federal government, and our city. There you go. Trump is taking over the law enforcement responsibilities for the District of Columbia because Muriel Bow Wow Bowser has failed. And this is not an illicit or illegitimate takeover. This is under the law. Trump orders federal takeover of D.C. Police, deploys National Guard. The mayor calls the actions unsettling that precedent. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. I don't know what the hell's going on in my chat, but I'm going to tell people to stop it right now. No more responses. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if someone attacked someone, if someone didn't attack someone, someone posted someone, someone didn't post something. Knock it off right now. This is a clear attempt to undermine my channel. Stop it right now. or everyone involved will be given a timeout. Arctic, Pendo, if necessary, give them a 5-minute timeout, okay? If people cannot behave, then they can't behave. It's not a committee. It's a news broadcast, Sam. You'll wait until after the news if you want to disrupt this and ask me questions. So there you go. 5-minute timeout for people who can't behave. We're almost through the news. You can't have patience. If you don't want to hear the news, then show up after the news. Typically, the news runs 40 minutes to an hour and 10 minutes. We're running late today because we were chatting at the beginning. I don't understand why people are trying to disrupt my program. And one day I've got a lot of viewers. President Trump announced Monday that he was placing the D.C. police under direct federal control and will deploy the National Guard to the streets of Washington to fight crime. An extraordinary flex of federal power. No, it's not an extraordinary flex. It's what the law says. President Trump says gold will be exempt from the tariffs, easing market jitters. Gold will not face tariffs coming in the country. Why are we importing gold? We produce our own gold. Gold will not be tariffed, Trump said. The statement followed U.S. Customs Border Protection ruling that 1 kilogram of 100-ounce gold bars imported from Switzerland will be subject to 39% tariff. That decision, issued on 31st July but disclosed on August 7th, sparked a surge in gold futures to record highs, prompting the White House to say a presidential decree would be forthcoming. White House intends to issue an executive order in the near future clarifying misinformation about the tariffing of gold bars. Well, that'll make the Swiss a lot happier, but it won't solve all the problems with 39% tariff. Well, they keep blaming Trump for not releasing the Epstein files, but Trump doesn't have the authority. The Epstein files that we're talking about are from grand jury testimony. Grand juries cannot be released except under extremely rare circumstances. President Trump has tried to subdue conspiracy theories, pushing to disclose transcripts from the cases, but federal judges once again refused to unseal the grand jury papers of Maxwell and Epstein, not Trump. Yet we still have hate wankers running around blaming Trump and blaming Pam Bondi for not releasing this stuff. The grand jury testimony cannot be released. U.S. steel plant explosion yesterday killed at least 2 people and injured 10. Well, this is not related. Authorities investigating the cause of the blast at the Clairton Coke Works near Pittsburgh. Horrific. We saw that yesterday. Our hearts go out to our employees. Safety is our number one priority every day, every shift, 365. So obviously it's a tragedy we want to understand. U.S. Steel's investigation of the explosion would include employee interviews and outside experts. Horrible situation there. The largest coking plant in North America. Well, remember the criminal alien invader who murdered a mother of 5 in Maryland, in Bel Air, as you read it on the page, but we say Blair in Maryland. Yep. Republicans have seized on the case of Victor Martinez Hernandez, an immigrant from El Salvador, to justify harsher immigration policies. An unauthorized immigrant, there's no such thing as an unauthorized immigrant. You're not an immigrant if you're unauthorized. Immigrants present themselves at a border post, hand over their bona fides, and enter your country legally without hiding something. That's an immigrant or a visitor. An unauthorized immigrant is a criminal alien invader who's violated our sovereignty and therefore is a felon by definition. From El Salvador, sentenced to life without parole Monday for the brutal 2023 killing of a Maryland woman while she was on a hiking trail. The man, Victor Martinez Hernandez, was found guilty this year of rape and murder of Rachel Moran, a 37-year-old mother of 5. Miss Moran was exercising a popular trail in Blair, Maryland in August of 2023 when, according to prosecutors, he pulled her off the trail, raped her, bashed her head with rocks, and strangled her. Her body was found the next day hidden in drainage culverts. He was arrested in 2024 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a long way from Maryland, and convicted in April of first-degree murder, first-degree rape, third-degree sex offense, kidnapping. The authorities said he'd been linked to a 2023 home invasion in Los Angeles. He's also wanted in El Salvador for connection with the murder of another woman. Judge Yolanda Curtin of the 3rd District Court of Harford County, Maryland, sentenced him to life without possibility of parole and an additional life sentence to be run consecutively. Harford County has never seen a case or defendant more deserving every single day of the maximum sentence this court imposed today. This has been a long and grueling process for her family, and it's our hope that the sentence provides some sense of justice. Now, these are criminal alien invaders, and they're in our midst, and they must be deported or executed for their crimes. Well, a Confederate statue is returning to Arlington National Cemetery. Confederate War Memorial statue is returning to Arlington after it was taken down on December 20th, 2023. Confederate soldiers were first barred from burial at Arlington, built on land stolen from the wife of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. In 1900, the policy was changed, and the statue created by Confederate veteran sculptor Moses Ezekiel went up in 1914. On Wednesday, Arlington National Cemetery said the Army entered an agreement with Virginia to loan the statue back for display. Ezekiel was buried at the base of the monument in 1921. Statue is expected to be back up by 2027 following refurbishment process. Memorial was first taken down in 2023 under a mandate from Congress. Elements of the statue include depictions of gods, southern soldiers, and a slave woman acting as a mammy for a baby, and the enslaved man following the master of war. So on Monday, National Park Service announced the statue of Confederate General Albert Pike, who raised American Indian troops in Arkansas during the Civil War and worked to advance Freemasonry for decades, will be restored near an intersection of D and 3rd Streets Northwest. Move is in line with executive orders. Trump is restoring these statues of America's history. A gunman killed 3 people, including a child, at a Target in Austin, Texas. He fled and was caught after stealing 2 cars. The gunman killed 3 people outside a Target in Austin, Texas, and stole a succession of cars. 2 of the victims, 1 adult and 1 child, were pronounced dead at the scene shortly after emergency responders arrived around 2:20 p.m. 3rd person was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. 4th person had minor medical complaints not caused by traumatic injuries. The 32-year-old gunman then hijacked a car and crashed it and stole another car. His name has not been released, but they say he has psychiatric conditions. Don't they say that all the time when they come across these people? U.S. consumers will bear the brunt of the tariffs, or so says a Goldman Sachs analyst. And this is published by an Indian news site. Of course, India has got a lot to benefit from by making hay about the tariffs. U.S. companies have so far taken the bulk of the hit from Trump's tariffs, but the burden will increasingly be passed on to consumers as companies hike prices. Consumers in the U.S. have absorbed an estimated 22% of tariff costs through June, but their share will rise to 67% if the latest tariffs follow the patterns of levies on previous years. Well, they're not likely to follow it, and many of these tariffs will disappear as these countries capitulate and lower their damn barriers. Well, he lived peacefully for decades. A Filipino drug dealer is in detention now, and they want sympathy for him. They want sympathy for the Filipino drug dealer. A Filipino immigrant and a green card holder with prior criminal charges for distributing controlled substances was detained at Charlotte International Airport on July 28th after returning from vacation in the Bahamas. Sonny Lisquit was reported living in the U.S. for 23 years and worked as a banquet server in Las Vegas. He's currently in the custody of U.S. immigration. His family and friends have launched a GoFundMe seeking $30,000 for legal representation. His arrest is triggered by federal system red flag connected to a 2012 narcotics case. From December 2010 to August 2012, he intentionally knowingly possessed the intent to distribute Schedule 4 narcotics, including diazepam, alprazolam, zolpidem, and cardacepadol, according to court records. However, he quickly accepted responsibility for his actions, cooperated with federal authorities in narking on his co-defendants. And in 2014 sentencing, U.S. former attorney Preet Bharara wrote that his assistance helped halt narcotics distribution and led to prosecution of others. I feel pretty confident you're not going to commit any crimes in the future, and I join the government in wishing you well and hopefully being able to put this behind you. You are, as the government points out, the only defendant who cooperated. You did this at some risk yourself. I think there needs to be recognition of that in proportionate sentencing between you and the other defendants. I agree, and he should have been deported. He should have been kicked out of the country then, never allowed to stay in the country. So no empathy for drug dealers. All right, folks, be sure to hit that like button. Now let me see what's going on over here in the chat. What is the problem going on over here? Drug says, sorry, cheers. What is that? Sorry, cheers. Kapstadt. History must be remembered so never repeat itself. Okay. Not for the Colonel. Do we have a rough estimation of timetable for receiving the first call to flight? There is no such thing, James. I've answered the question for you previously. There is no estimation. Stop trying to come estimates. I have people who've waited 6 weeks for a call. I have people who waited 3 days for a call. There is no estimation. You cannot come up with an estimation. It is a fool's errand to try to do so. Tariffs will hurt South African citizens, not the criminal ANC. You're right about that. Chinese army isn't unaffected. But the tariffs aren't going to hurt. They're going to hurt South African citizens because they're going to lose jobs. But it's not going to cost them any more money. Mad Max, thank you for that. What is that? Twitter. Okay. ANC reaffirms commitment to transformation and calls for protection of BEE gains. What gains? What gains? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we'll get on that. Respect one another as well as moderators and the Colonel, please. We're all here for one another. Thank you, Matthew Schaefer. I appreciate that comment. I don't know what's been going on over here, but I didn't like it. And Doug, what are you typing here? What bastards? What are you talking about? U.S. will defeat China on air and naval defense, but ground force is way different. There's a precedent. Nobody knows who will win that. Pierre is off to shave and shower. Why? Were you being loud? Yeah, Washington was one of the scariest places of election. Yeah, I could see that. Sam B was trying to quell the bickering. Okay. What's happened? I don't know, Leslie. People are acting like children in the chat. All right, Sambi, whatever question you had, you can ask now. And Anne, are you still here? You can ask your question. I still don't see what the hell problem was. What were people bitching about over here? What was going on? Who's deleting your posts? Who is deleting these posts? I went over here and I looked and I didn't see any posts being deleted by any of my moderators. So who's deleting posts, folks? I'm going back. I don't see a single. This only let me go back. Oh, there's one. Okay. Doug got deleted. Okay, what did Doug do? Doug was trolling. So Doug got deleted. You don't have 60% of the world's gold. That's fiction. That's not true. You're the 10th largest gold producer. You're insignificant. China produces more gold, the largest gold producer in the world. Australia, Canada, the U.S. produce more gold than Ghana produces more gold than South Africa. You're an also-ran. You once upon a time were important, but you don't matter anymore when it comes to gold. Doug got his messages deleted because he was trolling. There's a specific time limit on how long you can post messages in live chat. I don't understand what that means, Russell. Yeah, so Doug is the only person who's got... Oh, and Bob. Somebody was trying to be a smartass. Yeah. Wow, there's all kinds of crap on here. Doug was putting all kinds of stuff in here. Yeah, Doug is getting deleted. Okay, Doug is the only one. I go all the way back to 1 o'clock. That's 21 minutes ago. And the only messages I see deleted were Doug's messages. So what are people complaining about? Only Doug should have something to complain about, but Doug brought it on himself. Tariffs are the citizens, not the criminal ANC. Yeah, Gideon, I'm well aware of that, and I warned you all of that. Yeah, talk to your government. They're the ones that have the trade barriers against the U.S., not me. Mays, that's right. Yeah, Mays. That's what I said, Anna. At the time, the only thing we deleted was Doug, and that was afterwards. There was nothing deleted from Anna by moderators. Nothing deleted. So, Anna, if you're here and if you don't address me now and raise your question, then I'm going to assume that you were trolling. Because people do this frequently. Oh, there you are. I tried many times, but I didn't get answers. Okay, you tried many times. I was giving the news. I know, are you not listening? I'm here now. Ask your question. You have my full attention. Even though I'm in agony right now. Freaking hip is killing me. Just started, sharp pains just shot through me. Do you think Uncle Donald will drop the tariffs if we trade our weapons mass destruction? You don't have any weapons mass destruction. Oh, the top ANC 6. No, I don't think so. Please check IO for news report of Germiston Department of Home Affairs set on fire. Oh, wow. On WhatsApp, Telegram, everywhere. What about WhatsApp, Telegram, and everywhere? What are you talking about, Anna? Okay, see, this is the frustration here. I'm gonna play along. I'm gonna play along as the audience disappears because people are not enamored with this. What about WhatsApp? What are you asking? I don't know what you're asking. Ask your question. You've been granted an opportunity. You've been given a gifted opportunity to ask your question. I'm asking you to ask your question. But you're not asking it. You're moaning about something else. Ask your question. It doesn't unread email messages in one account. I'm going to lose access to the account because they just imposed a limit on the size of the account. I've been telling people that for 10 days. I have not answered any of the mail. And if you sent me mail on that account, it won't get answered. What people are going to get from that account is a terse statement from me telling you, you have written to an account I do not respond to. If you want to engage me on this topic, write to the other account. Now, and if you wrote to me on the other account, I haven't read my emails for the most part. I spent 3 hours answering emails, an hour each of the last 3 nights after midnight answering those emails. Please ask your question here now, unless it's private. If it's private and sensitive, then tell me it's private and sensitive. Okay? I'm going to be patient for a little bit longer, but then we're going to move on. Mad Max, Anna asked about Professor G video, good news for asylum seekers. Well, what about it, Mad Max? Thank you for the super chat. What about it? What is the question? Okay, it's private. Thank you. Okay? All right. Okay. I have a message from Anna Kruger on the 16th of July. That's 3 weeks ago. I answered the previous message. There's nothing since then. So I don't know what over and over is. You wrote to me twice. I answered your first question. Then you sent me. I didn't understand what you're asking me. Okay? YouTube is acting very slowly here. What the hell? I can't access YouTube content. What is that all about? Okay, well, people are leaving now because they can't chat. Well, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but I'm tired of people acting like children. Someone ruins it for everybody. It's always someone ruining it for everybody.
It was impossible to expect a moral awakening from humankind.
All right, the chat's turned back on, folks. Chat's turned back on. It asked over and over again. Really, Anna? You sent me a message on July 16th. Over and over again. It was your second message. I answered the first one. I didn't understand what your question was. Let's talk about Charlize. Good to see a lot of folks are still here. Is Baltimore, Maryland really as bad as recent YouTube videos show? So a couple of videos about the place yesterday regarding... Yo, it is. It is. Okay, first off, let me tell... I'm from Baltimore. That's my birthplace. Or Baltimore, as we say. Baltimore, yeah, and it's gone downhill. In 1985, 1990, Baltimore was beautiful. Not all of Baltimore. It still had its problems, but the Inner Harbor is beautiful. The financial district is beautiful. Elements of the town were lovely, but there's always been horrible parts of Baltimore. Baltimore is the syphilis capital of America. Yep. It's a drug capital of America. It's a gangland capital of America. It is a town full of row houses and tenements. Very dangerous. When my father lived, gunshots rang out every night in that neighborhood. Yeah, he's passed away now, but not from gunshots. But yeah, where he lived in Baltimore, but he insisted on living in Baltimore. I never understood that. It's yeah, it's and the Inner Harbor. I went there with recently. I was down there again. First time I've been there in a year, I think, with Ernst Rutz and with Just Strijdom. I went down there and showed them around the Federal Hill and everything, and it's just disgraceful what condition it's gone in. It's starting to look like South Africa. It reminds me of Durban, where nothing's been maintained, installed, and let to fall apart. The shops have all fallen away. I think COVID had something to do with the shops disappearing in the tourist sector down there at the Inner Harbor, but it's just such a mess. Such a mess. What are you doing short when you have more info on the Amerikaners thing? I need to talk to Sam before I make any video on that, okay? Marcel Sappett says, wow. What's the wow for? Ryan, girl, 50 memberships. My goodness. I got to turn off that alert box. We can't sit here through 50 clicks. It'll drive people nuts. Thank you. Someone asked, will Colonel do a short in Americaners? I will consider it. Do you see Zim is open a state art school with Starlink bringing the internet supplier? No, I didn't hear that, Greta. Thank you for sharing that. Thought Baltimore was a music band singing. Oh, that's Baltimore. It's Baltimore, not Baltimore. Lucille, Dustbin, Durban. Dirtbin, Durban. We appreciate you and your efforts. Amazing person with love for what we... Thank you very much, Leanne. It's very kind of you. Syphilis capital. This is sad. It is. It's a syphilis capital of America. A lot of folks in that town are on the down low. Yep. Peter says, sorry for the stress. No, it's all right, man. Sam B can ask a question here unless it's private. Okay. And then you tell me it's private. Okay. Some people don't want everybody knowing their business. That's fine. I mean, I appreciate that. You don't want everybody knowing your business. I got you. Somebody visited America since February. It's an amazing country. Recently watching a guy touring around dead towns and cities like to imagine their revitalization. Yep. So that's a question in private, please. Not in the group. Yeah, JD, you can. Send me a note. Remember something about a sitcom that was set in Baltimore. There was a sitcom based in Baltimore with Charles Dutton. People forget this is not a refugee channel and that you are gracious enough to entertain our questions. That's right, Lynette. Was that what the questions were? Is that why people are upset? Sydney's jeans. Yeah, there you go. See my message earlier before the live? No, I didn't, Irene. I'm sorry I missed your message. It's private. That's fine, Sam B. Send me a note. Cape Town to get my unabridged birth certificate, and a person that looked like Hunter Biden was to the police station. I don't think he's still in South Africa. What reason did they give for cutting your grant? Okay. Phoenix says, wish you had your patience. Awkward Lad says, what's your favorite part of South Africa? Do you mean geographic or aspect of South Africa? Geographic, my favorite part of South Africa, honestly, is, well, it's long been the Mahalisburg, but I'm kind of leaning towards the Western Cape now a little bit. Yeah, it's just, Corey says, in your earlier video, you said the report will be released today, not the draft. Any news on that? It will be released to Congress today, Corey. That's what I said. It'll be released to Congress. Whether it's made public or not today, I don't know. But I'm sure it will be short order. People in Congress have big mouths. They'll probably take a copy of it and run off to the press. But it's being delivered to Congress today. It's about 4 months behind. These things are usually delivered in March, April timeframe. And it's late. Yep. Okay. Met more crew in Somerset West that follow you. Okay. Can you elaborate a little more on the link between Bureau of Democratic Report? No, it's not the Bureau of Democratic Reports. It's DRL that I've sent on WhatsApp. Many reports, many of them. Huh? No. Okay, anime. Okay, no. Okay, hang on. I think I went to the link you sent. See if I still have it here. That's a whole, yeah, Bureau of Democracy and Human Rights. Yeah. So you went and you found the country reports on human rights. That's what we're talking about. Report to Congress on International Religious Freedom. These are things that they must do every year. The Trafficking in Persons Report, I've also had to do that one. United States Universal Periodic Review, didn't do that one. U.S. Treaty Reports had nothing to do with advancing democracy. It really had nothing to do with that. Eli Wiesel Report on Genocide, Atrocities, never anything to do with that. Reports of Congress Protection of Civil Society Activists, I didn't do that one. Transnational Repression Accountability, nothing to do with that one. So, TRAP Report. The only ones that I've actually been involved with is the Human Rights Report, and then the, where's the other one at? Is it Advancing Democracy, Freedom and Democracy? Both of those I played a role in working in embassies, giving contributions to. What she's talking about, folks, is I'll show you here on the screen. This is the bureau that sent the Mr. Samuelson to South Africa to collect information for the Human Rights Report. So NMA was curious, and she went and looked, and they do a bunch of different reports annually. So here you go, official website. Here are the reports from the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor, which goes by the DRL acronym. It doesn't match. It doesn't match the words. So the new country reports on human rights, that's the one we're talking about that's coming out. That's been required since 1961 by the Foreign Assistance Act. Report to Congress on International Religious Freedom, that's been required since 1998. The Trafficking in Persons Report, required since 2000. United States Universal Periodic Review, I don't know how long that's been required. It's not pointed out there. U.S. Treaty Reports, and those, I think those are episodic. They're not required on time. It's just when it's necessary to update. Advancing Freedom and Democracy since 2007. The Eli Wiesel Act report since 2018. Report to Congress on Protection of Civil Society and Activists and Journalists since 2022. That will likely get rescinded, I think. Transnational Repression Accountability since 2022. So those are all reports they have to do, and you can see their job is getting more difficult. And they've just let 3,000 people go, 89 from that Well, 89 from the other department, from PRM. Trump on Goldman Sachs. I think that David should go out and get himself a new economist. Who's David? Experiencing government hospital in Joburg. Person was discharged on Thursday. When I left yesterday, she was still going to stay the evening again, getting free meals. Yeah, exactly. We lost a lot here in Durban during the unrest, and some stores just never opened again. Very bad in some Durban areas. Yeah, I got you. Dinner done, relaxing now. Okay, Jay Quinn, cool. Survived a rhino attack. Okay. Need a personal assistant. No way one person can answer everyone. Well, isn't a question answering everyone. Look, this is not directed at anyone, but people are so demanding. Even people who are like, I apologize, I know you're busy, but if I could just ask you a question. Then they write a novel, 4 pages long. And I respond, and people don't listen. You know, some people do. Some thanks, appreciate it. Thank you for setting me straight. Thank you for reassuring me. But other people come back with, they just ignore what I say, and they come back with their fears. Look, if you don't want to hear what I have to say, then don't ask the question. I mean, if you've asked me a question, I answer it, and then you don't like the answer, then you don't like the answer. I can't help that. Why, if someone who cares and helps, people tend to offload all the weight on that person? It is a vicious cycle, Sean Nadir. There's a reel going around saying that John Steenhuisen gave Cape Town as collateral on a loan. How could John Steenhuisen give Cape Town? He doesn't own it. No, that's nonsense. South Africa doesn't own Cape Town. South Africans own parts of Cape Town. Charles Sutherland Clark is back. Hey, asking all with all respect, I know it's a serious matter, but does Colonel think the refugee hype, for a lack of a better word, will eventually fade? Trying to word it best I can. No, I'm not offended by that at all, Charles, and I think that's a very good question. No, I think the refugee hype won't end because people are conflating it with the tariffs. As long as the tariffs is an issue, this will not go away. And once large numbers of South Africans are over here and they start telling people or coming on my program and sharing it with people or creating their own stuff on social media, it's going to stay live. But if only a handful of people come over here, then it will die down. But not as long as the tariffs are out there, because the media and the politicians are trying to link the refugee and the white genocide and all this other stuff with the tariffs. They have nothing to do with the tariffs. BE has nothing to do with the tariffs. Nothing. The tariffs are there because South Africa's unfair trade policies. And here's the irony. To hear these idiots run around and say that these are punitive tariffs, excuse me? You were given duty-free access to our market. You didn't give us duty-free access. All we asked for was for you to adhere by good governance, and you couldn't even pull that off. You couldn't even pull that off. The African Growth Opportunity Act requires respect for private property, protection of property owners' rights. The mere introduction of expropriation without compensation into Parliament in 2018 negated South Africa's participation in the African Growth Opportunity Act and should have been kicked out. But no, the Trump administration let them have a free ride. The Biden administration let them have a free ride, despite them acting in interest contrary to the U.S. national security interest. And despite the fact that they can't even adhere to the basic, simple tenets of AGOA. Now, some people say, well, it's none of your business what you do in South Africa. You're right. And you're not entitled to duty-free access to a marketplace. You want duty-free access? Then we ask you to do certain things voluntarily. If you don't want to do them, then futsek. Now AGOA is dead because African states have been taking advantage of it and repressing their citizens and failing to deliver the services they promised delivered. And we've gotten no benefit. The soft power has not materialized. We're getting crapped on. So it's gone. And I told people it was going to be gone. Hey, Renault. I told people 18 months ago it probably wasn't going to be renewed. NMA, did I elaborate well enough on what you're asking? That question was asked earlier about teeny vessels, and I answered the question with a question. Why are you so passionate about South Africa? Well, Wayne, I'm so passionate about America. I'm so passionate about South Tyrol. I'm so passionate about Volksdeutsche in Siebenburgen. Yes, I'm written, I've published, I've briefed, I've lectured on all these things and many, many more. I'm passionate about many things because life is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm just as passionate about German Southwest Africa, Südwest Africa, Südwest. Yes, just as passionate about German colonies in Africa, just as passionate about Kenya, just as passionate about Swahili. I'm just as passionate about many things. People, because this YouTube channel wound up with a lot of South African followers, everybody just assumes that I'm all about South Africa. Did you even watch the news? I just spent half the news talking about things that weren't South Africa. That's not directed. Why am I passionate about South Africa? Because I'm passionate about a lot of things. But to answer your question specifically, what's this? My pain from arthritis and osteoporosis. Oh, prednisone. Okay. I read a book in high school after I was already following Mozambique and Angola and Rhodesia, what was going on there as a kid. And then I read a book called The Covenant about South Africa, and it started for me in 1980, about that time frame. Yep. Just wanted to let you know, you mentioned the movie The Last Rifleman, watched it, loved it. Yeah. I know. It made me tear up at the end too, Ingrid. It was Last Rifleman. I mean, Pierce Brosnan's a great guy. I loved it. The Last Rifleman was brilliant. Okay, guys, you're going on about Germiston. What's going on here? Gee, many crickets. Oh, boy.
Home Affairs building in Germiston, that's in the east of Johannesburg, is currently on fire. EMPD officials are at the scene with an SABC News reporter also standing by. Ekurhuleni Emergency Services spokesperson Willem Tladi says some roads have been closed for safety reasons.
Well, thank you for that, Pierre Russo. No, I don't lie. We can all make mistakes, and I've been mistaken on a couple of occasions, and I've corrected it when I've been offered it. But anyway, Germiston Home Affairs on fire, folks. Roof collapses mid chaos. A petrol bomb allegedly started a fire at the Department of Home Affairs building. The roof collapsed and possible damage to the pivotal first floor where News 24 understands official documents are kept. Protesting Faro Park residents were seen walking back to the flats from nearby Home Affairs building after they'd been evicted from the block of flats earlier. They allegedly removed items including fridges and clothing from their homes. Two people have been arrested. Wow. See, this is what happens when you allow lawlessness. The ANC's internal insurrection in July of 2021 is what leads to this allowing lawlessness. Everyone in their country and their issues is the most important, sometimes forgetting that the whole other world out there. You're right, Lynette, that's the point. But I don't do that, do I? See, that's the funny thing. Thank you, Lynette. You put that in context. You focused this for us. Other people navel gaze at their own country, especially a lot of South Africans and a lot of Americans. Ooh, me. Oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? I don't navel gaze. I look at the whole world. I'm the only journalist that's repeatedly brought up the genocide in Myanmar. The only one that's talked about the Myanmar, the military illegitimately overthrowing the government 9 days after Biden became president in 2021. I bring up Myanmar frequently. I've also talked about oppression in China, the Uyghurs, and I've talked about oppression elsewhere when no one else covers it. I've talked about Tigray when no one else was covering it. I talked about Somalia when no one else is covering it, because they lost interest in it. I also look for news on places like the Seychelles, Mauritius, Burundi, Gabon. The only place I don't focus energy for the most part is Latin America, because I have no interest in it whatsoever. None whatsoever. Aside from going to watch the Pumas get beaten by the Springboks, I have no desire to ever go to Argentina. The only place in Latin America that even remotely interests me is Chile. That's it. That's it. I'm more interested in going to the Falkland Islands than I am in going to Latin America. I don't cover it. Occasionally I'll cover a story because it's in the news, like Uribe dying from his gunshot wounds 2 months after they tried to assassinate him. But I do not focus on Latin America. I talk about Asia, I talk about China, I talk about Australasia, I talk about Micronesia, I talk about Africa, I talk about the Middle East, I talk about Europe, I talk about the US. I do reports on Finland frequently, I do reports on South Tyrol occasionally, and no one else does that. Exactly, Amazon Texas. If I make a mistake or if I got bad information, then I make a video clearing it up. Others just move on from it. Yep. Steve, have a good night. Navel gazing. Hey, Hendo. What does the DC stand for? Oh, District of Columbia. That's not a stupid question, Martin. How would you be expecting to know that? Washington, District of Columbia. The city is Washington, the geographic space, the District of Columbia, which envelops all of it. It was supposed to be a diamond, land donated from Virginia on one side of the Potomac and from Maryland. The original layout of the District of Columbia was in a diamond, but Virginia reneged on that. And so all the land is in... trying to find an original map here. Yeah, here we go. Library of Congress. So hang on a second. This is the original District of Columbia. This is what it's supposed to look like. Okay, this was what the District of Columbia was supposed to look like. You see that? Land donated on both sides of the river. Most of it coming from Maryland, but some of it coming from Virginia. But Virginia reneged, and the District of Columbia is exclusively on the Maryland side. So that was the original. Montgomery County, Maryland up there, Prince George's. And then on the other side, Fairfax County, Virginia. So there's D.C., and you see that there's nothing on the Virginia side. They reneged. They reneged. So yeah, here's the original map that they drew just off the map. They drew it up. They put boundary markers out. And so Falls Church should have been Alexandria, should be in the District of Columbia. They're not. They're in Virginia. And Anacostia is, that's the original map of the District of Columbia. So District of Columbia, okay, so this is what it actually looks like today. That's not a bad question. So here you go. This is what district looks like. It's only on the Maryland side of the Potomac. See that? Right there. That's in Encyclopedia Britannica. So Virginia reneged. It reneged. And here you go. That's the original map there. Right? District of Columbia is in white. But the other stuff from Virginia is not part of it. Yep. Yep. They reneged. Here's the city of Washington way back. This is from, when is this from? 1800. So here's a map of D.C. in 1800. Anyway, that's the District of Columbia. Answers your question, okay? Close those down. I don't need those anymore. Okay, so Uyghur was talked about in the mainstream, though. Yes, Uyghur was talked about in mainstream, Pablo, but they moved on from it. I still bring the topic up. Mad Max has another one. National Security News. What's this one? 70 Rand. U.S. lawmakers expressed growing concern about the subversion of press freedom. Yeah, no, that came up yesterday. Yeah, but it doesn't give a name. I have a problem with I have a problem with anonymous things posted on the internet. I don't have a problem with The Economist publishing their newspaper, their magazine with anonymous articles. I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with anonymous internet stuff. And this has no author. So it says staff writer. Why staff writer? I don't know that this is a reputable site. I've seen it before. So they're talking about Republicans and Democrats working together. They talk about Adrien Basson. Yeah, so. When Rob Hershoff, a widely respected national business leader, raised concerns during a profile of the United States, News 24 launched a vicious attack on his character and reputation, a calculated hit piece written by Andrew Thompson. Similarly, Emerald Powell, a highly regarded member of Parliament for the DA, became a target. Powell fought back. I noticed they make no mention of me, the staff writer. No mention of me when the Daily Maverick, News 24, IOL, and Newsroom Africa all slandered me. Don't make mention of that. No mention of that. Thank you, staff writer. I don't know who this person is. Yeah, they're selective in their umbrage there. I didn't know the Capricorns are passionate about life, but I am a Capricorn, yes. Hey, Doug, you're back. Please behave. Vera Fandemeva, Colonel has met many Burmeister, but seems none fit the bill. Read about the Colonel is highly educated, and people pay to hear his talks. On his channel, we are privileged. Yeah, that's right. You get it for free. I do charge for public speaking sometimes. Have you seen the clips on X with Muslim women being chased away from hospitals too? Haven't seen that one. Just finished 3-year tour to South America. Chile was the most beautiful country, and they found Afrikaans-speaking people. I forgot where exactly. Oh, cool. Yeah, District of Columbia. Yep. I like that you give us a straightforward and truthful answer, and that was what I appreciate most about instead of watching SABC and being lied to. You're welcome. Joined the Channels channel in November last year, and bottom line, I don't watch any other news channels, maybe the White House channel or state channel. Well, thank you, Pierre. Very kind of you. By the way, I drove down to Helsinki to look for the seagulls. Not that many. I just saw poop skimmers. How's it going in Finland, Primal Boar? I got to get over there, man. I love Finland. I miss it. I haven't been to Finland in a while. Last time I was in Finland was when I went to the Åland Islands back in 2012. Yeah, so it's been 13 years. I love Finland. What was this said about the reason for Germiston riot? People were evicted from housing. What's your view of the man and his allocation? Forensic investigator Paul Sullivan. He was on Biz News the other day. I know nothing about Paul Sullivan. I can't really comment on it, El Murray, but thank you for asking. I'll have to look into it. All right, cool beans. Caught up on that. Thank you for the super chat there, Mad Max. Went to Tuamgani Road, Home Affairs, dodgy. What a nightmare. Sorry to hear that, Karen. Karen, you got your ID card back, right? Don't let your blood pressure throw a surprise party without you, please. Freedom Plus also withdrew from National Monologue. Yeah, exactly. His National Monologue. To break the angst you endured during the news, a trip to Spain, I met with an American girl from Grand Rapids, Michigan. We went to the Vortrek mine and started singing we were marching to. Okay, David? Will you watch the Department of State briefing today? Maybe they'll share more. But are they on it too? Let's see. Let me go there. Department of State. That would be in 6 minutes. If so, I'll bring it on here. There it is. 2 p.m. Well, I'll hang around since it's 6 minutes away. If they're not late, then we'll hang around. Then we'll hang around. Then we'll hang around. All right, so I've got it running. If it comes up and if she comes on there, we'll check it out. Yeah, they'll go live soon, so I'm still here. Leanne McCaskill, how's your hip? It hurts like hell, and I didn't get any care. They didn't give me an injection into it, so I'm no better off than I was. I have to leave here after this is over and go collect my meds. So, mother was a Capricorn, says Ruben. Okay. Arctic say there. Okay, I'm behind now. Come on. Fact check. I had to pay my SABC TV license. I'll never watch SABC. Next thing you know, we'll have to license out microwave and fridges. Yeah, you're right about that. What did Russell say? Hey, Katie. Okay. Pierre Rousseau. I missed what Gan said. Sorry for that. Okay. Now I'm catching back up. Somehow the chat got all messed up here. What's up with media on India declaring war again? The enforcers usually not that far out with their live war map updates. Declaring war what? On the U.S., metaphorically, or on Pakistan, physically? Most people can't point and fight other countries. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Chris Ehlers has not been around for a few days. That's right. Good point there, Rebecca. Let me check and see. Okay, I sent a message and it went, so phone is on. Thank you for asking about Chris Ehlers. Appreciate that. Wasn't it just hilarious to hear all decide to walk out of the SA dialogue meetings? Yeah, exactly. If you get too hot under the collar or frustrated, just watch that video clip about the little boy snatching. Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. It's clear to me you have varied interests. We are not that special. There is a world beyond South Africa. There is. There is. Is the stream delayed? Is your clock wrong? There's 2 minutes difference, Wild Bear. That's cheap Chinese crap. I mean, it's a lovely looking clock, and it gives me what I need. I can see the days of the week on the left-hand side. It's really good for me because I hate looking down at the screen, looking over here and distracting. I can look straight ahead, and I can see the time up there. It also is good for us. That's 2 minutes behind. I update it twice a month. It's not a physical clock. It's just cheap Chinese garbage, but it looks cool. So it keeps the time some of the time. So it's 2 minutes behind. There is a delay here on YouTube, but it's not 2 minutes. So thank you for asking. Google Maps in my young 50s. Okay, I just want to say not always here for a whole stream due to the time of day and other reasons, but we'll watch whether yes, news partial in your opinion. Thank you, Vanner Kruger. Appreciate that. Colonel, with all this nonsense going on in politics, what's your view on the sanctions against South Africa going through Parliament? Okay, we don't have a Parliament, Darlene. We have a Congress, if that's what you're talking about. Not the UK. I assume you're talking about the US. What's my view? I think that the Human Rights Report, depending on how damaging it is, could very well be the impetus that pushes Ronnie Jackson's bill through for a study. And then as long as the study's completed while Trump is in office, they'll probably sanction senior members of the ANC for their racist legislation and for their uncaring attitude and their intentional withdrawal of rural security. Yep. Hey, kilometers per hour. Wow, you've been missing for a while. I haven't seen you in ages. Welcome back. Rebecca was here early in the chat. Okay, did I miss something? Sorry, Skuman. Oh, I got the alerts turned off because we have 50 new members. Sorry, Skuman. 140 Rand. Thank you for that. Jake Overley's got to go. Appears physical can be Pakistan. Oh, okay. They didn't have a peace agreement. They just had a ceasefire. Havel. Yes, Chinese crap. I agree. Why does China own South Africa? Well, they don't, but they own a lot of South Africa. 90 days, that's right. Chinese use money as a weapon. They use a lot of things as weapons. Clock only works twice a day. Exactly. Oh, their mattresses are going to be swollen. I was born in the UK, raised in South Africa, and interested in all things South African, British, and American. Please, can we have more commentary analysis on the UK? La Soil, I can do that. But the person who tends to do a lot of that commentary, well, he hasn't lately, is Byron, because he's a British citizen on Morning Shot. But yeah, I've done a lot of coverage of the UK in the past, but there's not much happening right now. It's falling apart. I've done a lot of coverage of the UK, La Soil. I've talked an awful lot about it. Well, okay, I can promise you this, La Soil. There'll be a lot more coverage of the UK starting next Monday. Do you know why? Because I'll be in England. So there'll be a lot of coverage of events in the UK next week because I'll have access to the British press every day. Newspapers, television. Yeah, there'll be more coverage of the UK starting next week, last night. So please tune in. Watch my shorts. There'll be a lot of coverage of UK events. I've been covering the UK since the 1990s when I talked about the collieries shutting down. Yep, cheap Chinese clock advance this time. That's interesting. I had a quick chat with Chris Ayers a couple days ago, and he's having a bit of a hard time. I hope he's doing better. Well, I sent a message, Peter. Thank you. Couldn't handle earlier nonsense. Well, I turned off the chat. You can see, I turned it off. Just shut it off for a while. I'm calling for Bob. Which games you going to watch at the Women's World Cup? Okay, let me see which ones I've got here. I've got the opening game. That'll be cool. What's that doing here? That's in the wrong folder. Here we go. Let me see if that'll help me. I've got England versus USA in Sunderland. I've got Canada versus Fiji in York. USA versus Australia in York. Italy versus South Africa in York. USA versus Samoa in York. Japan versus Spain in York. Ireland versus Japan in Northampton. South Africa versus Brazil in Northampton. And the quarterfinal number 1 and quarterfinal number 3 in Exeter. So pretty wide geographic dispersion, but most of the games are in the Midlands. Yep. So, yep. Women's Rugby World Cup. Yep. 10 games. Maybe more if I can get more tickets. We'll see. I won't be able to cover the Springboks when I'm at games on the Saturdays, so we'll be covering this weekend's game, and maybe, I don't know if we'll be able to do next weekend's. Guest room for me in Cornwall. Okay, well, that's very kind of you to offer that. What's your opinion of Green Bay, Wisconsin? Never been to Green Bay. I've seen it on television. Seems like a decent place. Private car guard. No, that hasn't been filled. Varushka's got to go. Varushka, take care. It is cold there, Arctic, but I'm a Viking. I don't mind the cold. Well, I visit South Africa before the end of the year. Well, I'm going to make an effort at it, but the hip is a problem, and my obligations and commitments are a problem too. Anyone watch the Young Bucks today? No, I didn't. It's because of the difference. So this thing is still not live. Yeah, State Department hasn't gone live yet. 2:02. They're late, so we're hanging around for them. When you read the South African news, it kind of tune out. I think I'm over it. Much prefer the international news. Okay, MJ. Even you would freeze up there. No, the winds are pretty brutal in Green Bay, but Yeah, well, the fact that I'm cold, I didn't say I wouldn't be cold. I never said I wouldn't be cold. My best friend is in Exeter. Exeter's nice, Shireen. Exeter's nice. Yeah, I went to one of the coolest games I ever watched was in Exeter. Unfortunately, I didn't have the best field position. I was sitting at the end of the pitch, and that was Namibia when they nearly won that game in 2015. That almost won. They lost by a point. David Furry, thank you. I haven't watched in a while. Hope you're well. I'm okay. My hip isn't, but I'm okay. Song about your blood pressure. My only living sister lives in the UK, and I long to see her so much, but with the Rand pound exchange, I don't think I'll ever go visit there. Can you make a song about the rhinos? They stop poaching them. Interesting. I'll call it Women's Box to top their poll. Ah, no, no way, no way, no way. They're not that good. Anna's trauma. What happened to Anna? Okay. Looking for Anna here. Ah. Anna, okay, first off, you didn't have to say that. And you didn't ask that of me in the chat. Your email to me didn't ask that. You said it was private and personal. Okay, now you sent me July. Okay. You make no mention of that in your email. Wait a second. Now here's another one from you. Are you sending from different email accounts? Or are there two Anna Krugers? Okay, no, it's the same one. We have a long email chain. You wrote to me on July 15th several times, and I answered you. And you don't mention that, Anna. There's no reason to mention that here. I'm sorry to hear. I'm sad to hear that, but unfortunately, and I don't mean to speak for the women here. It's happened to some of the men too, but I guarantee you that it's not something we brought up, but a fair portion of the women that are in this, watching this program right now in South Africa, have been raped, and usually by someone of different skin color. Not always, but usually. It's the treatment of women in South Africa is beyond horrific. Beyond horrific. And please, I don't want to start a flood of people telling me they've been sexually assaulted. Let's not get into that. But Anna, you've not sent me a message. I've just looked again. There's no message there. So I don't know what are you asking for of me? Again, let me see if a new message came in since no. There's no new message here. Darlene sent me some messages. And someone else I never heard of sent me a message here. Yeah, Peter, you sent me this message about teeny vessels, but isn't that old story from like a month or two ago? Anna, what do you need? Now that you've disclosed that, what is your question? You still haven't asked me your question. WhatsApp. Okay, thank you, Anna. Thank you. Okay. Gotcha, Anna. Okay, got it. You sent it to me yesterday at 11:12 in the morning, 24 hours ago, and I haven't responded. And I have 273 unread conversations in WhatsApp from people writing to me. My apologies for not seeing it sooner. Okay, Anna, I will try to chat with you. Okay, all right. Okay, you didn't have to disclose that here, and I don't know what you mean by no one's willing to help you. What help are you looking for? Are you looking to talk to someone? Thank you for telling me. Thank you for telling me. See, when you don't tell me, see, this is the problem, folks. When people come in here, when people come into the chat and they give half answers, they give partial statements. Okay, I'm going to cover this again. I covered this a couple days ago. By the way, the State Department briefing is still not going on. I'm still waiting for that. Here you go. Look at that. Look at that. Still waiting. They're late as usual. That's a live feed, by the way. Just, I'm not pulling your leg. See, live right there, live. And there's nothing there yet. I won't wait forever for them, but I'll wait a little bit longer. When you come into the chat, did you see this happen? Like someone earlier sent me a message. It was a quote about the Amerikaners. And I appreciate that. But the person didn't tell me where it came from. I can't use stuff that you just send me. I can't answer questions that are in your head that you haven't articulated in the chat. You must say, I sent you a WhatsApp on the 11th or the 10th of August, and it's from me. And you know, okay? That's what you have to do, folks. All right? Okay. Who's going to the hospital? Who's going to the hospital, Alta? Phoenixes can't do this out of here. See what happens? Chasing people away. Yes, Anna, but you need to be clear, okay? Okay. All right. Why are you leaving, Phoenix? My folk Marleys, exactly. Kidnapping. I'm sorry, but Ronaldo will criticize how I pronounce it. Utenhage. Pure Rousseau left too. There's a documentary on Afrikaners went there in a second. I've seen it. No, they don't speak Afrikaans. That's lame. Yeah, I've seen it. They can't. Professor G speaks better Afrikaans. Renee, sir, please look back. Cruz posted. I wanted to know about it. Maybe get some info. I found it, Renee. Thank you. Etienne, thank you for your membership, especially platoon level. I can't. I'm going to hospital Thursday. Can assist with Anna tomorrow. I don't know that Anna needs help from a hospital. I don't know what's going on. Diane, how you doing there? Glad to see you hanging in there. All aside, Afrikaner, that's nothing. I've done 9-hour live streams before. I get it, Lynette. That's why I don't raise the topic. That's why I didn't appreciate that it was put in the chat. Okay? Lynette, it's a very sensitive topic for all of us, okay? Not some of us. Okay? All right? And that's why I didn't appreciate being put in the chat, okay? All right? DDP for the win. What is that? Back up north in Lapland, Finland became very popular and busy with tourism. Don't you think you will recognize it? Oh, I don't think I'll recognize. Very busy, but still beautiful. Yeah, no, Finland's lovely. It's time for a song. Okay, yeah, we'll have a song while we wait for these guys. Can you play your new song? You guys want to hear the Penguins Have Knees? Which Penguins Have Knees version do you guys want to hear? I did 2 of them. Okay. Where the hell was... I guess I closed that. My goodness. Okay, let me come back over here and open it back up. It should have no problem playing right off the bat then because it was closed. Okay, let me go to my library. Studio's coming. What is that? Studio's coming. Step into future music production. Ooh, I'm going to get a studio. Join the wait list. Yeah, heck yeah. Let me get in the wait list there. Okay, join the wait list. Okay. Okay, I'm on the wait list. Okay. Cool. All right, so we'll see if I get those tools. I'm one of the first ones in. That's good news. Just happened to see that. All right, so you want the Penguins. Let me see which one you guys wanted for. Wow, Yolande Mayer. Just gave my parents moved south from Holland in the 60s, stayed Dutch citizens till they died, born 70. I've never applied for citizenship, be recognized nor passport will the 70. Well, the most important thing that you say there, Yolande, you didn't answer. You say you were born in 1970, presumably in South Africa, but your parents might have gone back to the Netherlands. I don't know. I assume you're born in South Africa, so you're a citizen. It doesn't matter what your parents were. All right. Any country you would like to visit, if not Chile? Yep. Both. First one. All right, let's go to the penguins. Okay. Do penguins have knees? That was the Afrobeat. Not everybody liked that one. Here we go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ah, ah, ah. Waddling around in their icy suits, little tuxedo troops in boots. Do they have knees? Do they bend? Or just straight lines to the bitter end? Rocket like beneath the waves, clumsy kings on snowy graves. Do penguins have knees? Tell me please, do penguins have knees? Mystery of the seas. On the ice they shuffle slow, a penguin parade where the cold winds blow. But underwater, oh they fly, fins like wings cutting through the sky. Falling stars on frozen shores, legs or not they still endure. Do penguins have knees? Tell me please, oh, do penguins have knees? Hidden joints, a secret tease, you know.
Penguins have knees. Apparently they do. Last night I said they didn't. Do penguins have knees? Well, I've created a new song called Stay Strong. Here you go. Here's the debut. Stay strong while we wait for the State Department briefing.
The road is cracked, but I still walk. With every stumble, I still talk. The sky's not falling, just a little gray.
Life's a storm, but I'll find my way.
Through the dark, the light will shine. The clock keeps ticking, and so will I. Stay strong, keep the faith alive. We rise, we fall, we thrive. Ups and downs, they shape the climb. This life is precious, one of a kind.
Peace, I fought for breath, face the mirror, dance with death. Every scar a lesson learned, every fire where strength is earned.
Through the pain I've seen the truth, the hardest days are proof of you. Stay strong, keep the faith alive. We rise, we fall, this life is precious, one of a kind. Stay strong, keep the faith alive. We rise. life is precious, one of a kind, one of a kind.
Stay strong. Country pop crossover, male-female duet. That's version 1. Let's hear how the second one goes. That was pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome. Geez, Mad Max is still bringing those super chats for news.
Road is cracked, but I still walk.
Thank you, Vela Pistorius.
With every stumble, I still talk.
The sky's not falling, just a little gray.
Life's a storm, but I'll find my way. Through the dark, the light will shine, the clock keeps ticking, and so will I. Stay strong, keep the faith alive. We rise, we fall, we thrive. Ups and downs, they shape the climb. This life is precious, one of a kind.
I've prayed for peace, I've fought for breath, face the mirror,
Dance with death. Every scar a lesson learned, every fire where strength is earned. Through the pain I've seen the truth, the hardest days are proof of you.
Both sides confirmed their commitment to a successful event. I can also tell you that it was President Putin who called to make this arrangement as well. But of course, I will certainly take your questions as we move forward here. And now to our announcements. We are deeply saddened to learn of Colombian Senator Uribe's tragic death. Senator Uribe, his leadership and vision for Colombia's future were evident throughout his years of public service to the nation and the Colombian people. His vision encouraged commitment to his country, encouraged countless individuals at home, throughout the world, and his contributions to Colombia's democratic future, though obscenely halted, will endure and inspire future generations. As Secretary Marco Rubio has said, the United States stands in solidarity with Senator Uribe's family and the Colombian people, both in mourning and demanding justice for those responsible. And Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau will travel to Bogota today to attend the memorial services for the senator on Wednesday, August 13th. Also, further, the declaration of peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan has reaffirmed that President Trump is indeed the president of peace. Last week, he hosted the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan at the White House, where they signed a historic joint declaration for peace after decades of bitter conflict and too many lives lost, a landmark achievement for international diplomacy and an end to violence that only President Trump could deliver. The two leaders also signed bilateral economic agreements with the United States, unlocking the great potential of the South Caucasus region in trade, transit, energy, infrastructure, and technology, and creating new opportunities for the American people and American businesses. This achievement follows negotiated peace arrangements between Cambodia and Thailand, Israel and Iran, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, India and Pakistan, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Serbia and Kosovo, in addition to the remarkable achievement of the Abraham Accords. President Trump continues to prove that nations across the globe can move beyond long-standing conflicts of the past toward a shared future of peace, prosperity, and success. Now, today, the 2024 Human Rights Report has been released publicly on the State Department website. That is at state.gov, where everyone watching from home and around the world can access the report. The Human Rights Report has been restructured in a way that removes redundancy, increases report readability, and is responsive to the legislative mandates that underpin the report, rather than an expansive list of politically biased demands and assertions. The calendar year 2024 individual reports are more readable, objective, true to their statutory origins, and more useful than ever before. The report continues to call out the world's repressive actors while also addressing abuses that had not previously been covered. The United States has long promoted respect
South
for
Africa.
international universal rights, including in our own founding documents, which asserts that human beings are, quote, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, we reaffirm the words of those documents, which have served as a beacon of hope and freedom for people around the world. And again, at the end now of this briefing, I'll have a few words and about some news relating to my own work. But of course, now I am happy to answer your questions. All right.
Here we go.
Yes, sir. And when I call you in the front row, if you could announce your name and your outlet, that would be terrific.
Dia Kuda with Huda Media Network. It's a Kurdish media outlet. First of all, Tammy, congratulations on your nomination by the President for the UN role. I'll start with Iraq and Syria. After you raised the concern of the PMF bill at the Iraqi parliament, which you think that it might increase the Iranian influence on Iraq, we saw yesterday the top Iranian security guy, Ali Rajani, he went to Baghdad and signed a security agreement with Iraq. Do you have any concern with that agreement, and how do you push Baghdad to not pass the PMF bill? If they pass, then there will be consequences for Iraq.
Well, we, as I think we've stated before, we oppose any legislation that is inconsistent with the goals of our bilateral security
fix your audio.
and
Wow, they need to fix their audio.
to strengthening Iraq's existing security institutions. We support genuine Iraqi sovereignty.
I don't care about Iraq.
Not legislation that would turn Iraq into an Iranian satellite state. And so I think we've been clear in this particular instance, certainly, and others, that the future of nations should be in the hands of the people of those nations. And certainly our commitment here, as we've made clear, this particular dynamic runs counter to what our commitment has been regarding security in general.
Then I'll ask one question on Syria, then I'll let my colleagues
Sure.
their questions. The Syrian interim government has refused to join the meeting with SDF in Paris under auspices of US and France. Does the United States believe that the Syrian government, the Syrian interim government, is adequately respecting the rights of minorities like Kurds and Druze who are seeking a decentralized Syria? And have you put any pressure on them to make these meetings happen, especially in Paris?
Well, this is why we have special envoys. Again, we're in regions that are unstable, that have had problems sometimes for generations, if not hundreds of years. So that automatically means that continual work has to be done to bring parties together. I will read a tweet from Ambassador Barak, who is our special envoy for Syria. He's noted from, well, was it today? Syria remains steadfastly committed to a united process that honors and protects all its constituencies, fostering a shared future.
Can we get to South Africa?
People. And I think that is his work. We know we've seen, of course, skirmishes reemerge, differences emerge, and that's what negotiators and diplomats are meant to do, which is kind of thread that needle and bring parties together. And that is exactly what Ambassador Barak is doing, and we look forward to his results. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we do part with Newsmax. Congratulations on your to the United Nations.
Thank you.
Two questions for you. The influential Pakistani chief of defense has met with President Trump once and seems to have developed a strong relationship. Do you think that this will lead to more U.S. assistance to Pakistan via an increase in arms sales? And is this being done at the expense of the president's relationship with Modi?
Obviously, we had a experience with Pakistan and India when there was a conflict, one that could have developed into something quite horrible. I was here at the State Department at the time, and there was an immediate concern and immediate movement with the Vice President, the President, and the Secretary of State in addressing the nature of what was happening. Many of you who were in the room in the days afterward, we described the nature of the phone calls, the work that we did to stop the attacks and to then bring the parties together so we could have something that was enduring. And it's a very proud moment and a very good example of what Secretary Rubio is committed to, Vice President Vance in that, of course, case as well. But are the top leaders in this nation involved in stopping that potential catastrophe? I would say that our relationship with both nations is as it has been, which is good, and that is the benefit of having a president who knows everyone, talks to everyone, and that is how we can bring differences together in this case. So it's clear that the diplomats here are committed to both nations. I can tell you also that there has been a U.S.-Pakistan counterterrorism dialogue that was established.
This is boring.
At this dialogue in Islamabad, the United States and Pakistan reaffirmed their shared commitment to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations during this latest round of the talks in Islamabad. The United States and Pakistan discussed ways to enhance cooperation to counter terrorist threats, and I think that for the region and for the world, the United States working with both those nations is good news and will promote a future that's beneficial.
Follow up on the subject of relationships. When it comes to the summit with Putin, do you anticipate that Ukraine's Zelensky will be invited?
Well, I can tell you a few things the president has said. As I mentioned when I opened, that it was Putin who suggested this meeting. It is something that also my colleague Caroline Levitt discussed a great deal just a little bit ago at her briefing. And I think that that's important to know, that the president is viewing this, as she described, as something that was fact-finding in a way to see exactly what was possible. I do also want to bring to you some of his comments, which you may not have heard, regarding his commitment to our European partners and to Ukraine and President Zelensky. We know at this point, he said that this is really a feel-out meeting. He said, I'm going to meet with President Putin and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first, being President Zelensky, and then I'll call them afterwards. And if I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say, we can make a deal. I've seen a poll out of Ukraine, the president said, 88% of the people would like to see a deal made. Lastly, he noted, as he does, the death is incredible. It's the worst thing that's happened by far. The worst that's happened since World War II. So I'm going in to speak to Putin, and I'm going to be telling him, you've got to end this war. You've got to end it. So we know what his agenda is, which is what it's always been. We know what has bothered him, which is the killing of civilians. We know that he has been not happy with President Putin, with his actions and what's happened in Ukraine. We know that he is going to inform President Zelensky and European leaders about what happens at this meeting, and then we will all find out what happened. And this is what I know the president has been caring about. Yes, Nadia.
Thank you, Tammy. Congratulations on the new job, and I guess soon we're going to call you Madam Ambassador.
Well, we'll wait.
She's been nominated to be an ambassador?
For now. That's a good one. I've been called worse things. Yes, ma'am.
So I have two questions. First, there is 26 foreign ministers who signed a joint statement calling on Israel to allow unrestricted access to Gaza. the GHF work is not enough by the standard of every organization that works there, and there is no evidence that Hamas actually stealing the food. So considering that, like international figures, whether it's McDonald's calling on the Pope to visit Gaza before it's too late, why not allowing other ways, including the UN, to help people who are on the precipice of dying, basically, of starvation?
Well, I will remind you, and I know you know because of your work, everyone here knows, that situation is rapidly evolving. We've been working from the beginning for a ceasefire, specifically for the reasons you've noted and that we all care about, which is the aid for the people of Gaza. Hamas has been at war with the people of Gaza. We've seen that through their refusal to stop this war. We know that they are the first victims, and our intention is, of course, is to stop that carnage. That's the bottom line. I can tell you that the aid dynamic, there has been more aid that has flowed in. We know that there is an understanding that this dynamic is changing, but even within the midst of this war zone, more food has arrived. I believe the GHF numbers at this point, I was briefed on this morning, is close to 120 million meals. And of course, also as we've discussed, nothing will ever be enough in a war zone. The war zone has to stop. It has to end. So that is our recognition here. Our posture has not changed. Our actions have not changed. And yet the situation is fluid, more so than in recent days. And so I would ask you to recognize that, and we're working within that framework.
The UN and also many of your allies have been asking for an independent commission to investigate the killing of Palestinian journalists in Gaza, who reached now at 247, including 5 of our colleagues who were killed the day before. So why not supporting an independent commission, considering that Israel has failed every time to investigate the killing of journalists?
That's her opinion, not a fact.
Well, I would take issue with your premise here. To say that
As would I.
Israel every time has failed to do that is not true. We know that, again, this is a nation fighting a war with a terrorist group that have always used human shields, have used hospitals, have used schools. It's been just the worst example of the barbarity of human beings, if you can call them that. It's been shocking. For Donald Trump to make the commitment to end this would be a tremendous gift to the entire world, as you know, and that is our commitment. We also we call on our ally and partner Israel to investigate these situations. I do it from this podium, and the United States does it. We expect investigations, and for a sovereign nation to engage in that, and then we'll follow up on. We see what those results are, but they do investigate. That is one of the things that, unlike other dynamics in war, Israel has done that, and they're transparent about it. So I would say that as we are working on all of this to stop, we encourage Israel always, and they do so as one of our, again, stalwart allies. And I think that their background proves that, in fact, look, they are minding their own business on October 7th. They are constantly dealing with those kinds of attacks. This is a chance for everyone to be able to have a future that is different. That's what we're looking for.
Investigation with us?
Yeah. Well, clearly, yeah. And I can't say for each situation because each one is different. But I know the goal here at the State Department, and why I felt very comfortable working with the people in this building, is that information is key, right? Is that knowing what's happening matters. That is your job as journalists. I respect that immensely. It keeps me centered. Knowing that we have to explain things or talk about them makes us view the news as it's coming up in a slightly different way. Makes us ask questions. That will never end. And so I trust that, well, I will be in some fashion asking the same questions. I know you will be as too. Andrea Mitchell.
Thank you so much.
Andrea Mitchell, please. Andrea Mitchell.
Andrea Mitchell.
And congratulations on your new adventure.
Thank you. That's what it will be, I'm sure.
And I have a couple of things to follow up on that. But
yes.
First of all, do we have any update on what Ambassador Huckabee said would be 16 new distribution centers for food in Gaza? And as the U.S. tries to deal with 2 wars simultaneously as part of the challenge that the president is facing,
right,
with this summit, President Zelensky said today that after the overnight attacks, which were throughout his country, that there is evidence, as far as he's concerned, that President Putin is not committed to peace, but is committed to plans for a new offensive against Ukraine. So going into these negotiations, with what President Zelensky says is an imbalance in what is going on the battlefield right now, how does the president hope to try to get President Putin to abandon this commitment that seems obvious from the
Get to the question, Andrea.
after day advancing?
I'll let me answer the first question about. First of all, we have nothing else to announce regarding the ambassador's remarks about the increase in sites for GHF. Of course, that would be welcome news, but when we see that we have more, we'll let you know. I'll remind you also that the president's not calling this a negotiation. He is not the one that asked for it. This is what, as I've equated to you before, his remarks were that this is to see what's happening, to see what's possible. So negotiation, I think, is certainly not the right word. How he expects to get to where he gets, I won't have details for you in that regard, but there's a reason why he's the one there and we aren't. He is clearly, the list that I read out to you regarding being the president of peace is an astounding one. Perhaps it's situations around the globe that just didn't interest other people. But for President Trump, everyone matters. He sees these dynamics, which his presence and the power of the United States is able to change, and he knows that. He has many tools in his tool chest. We know, of course, that he had remarked about secondary sanctions on those who are buying Russian oil. That's one thing of many that can happen. We know, of course, of NATO's commitment regarding defensive weapons and helping and assisting Ukraine. There's many things that are moving that should have an impact that President Trump, I don't know what his approach will be. What I do know is that I'm grateful that he's the president, that I'm able to be here, read you a list of ceasefires and peace agreements, and know that he's meeting with Putin in regard to one of the most outrageous dynamics that we've experienced. I will also remind people that he has met alone with President Zelensky. He has met alone with European leaders. This is a man who is doing everything possible and fairly to get an end to this carnage.
Just a quick follow-up.
Yes, ma'am.
There's been a lot written that by just granting Vladimir Putin, who has been charged with foreign crimes.
This is just silly. You don't get to peace without talking to people.
By granting him a summit with the leader of the United States on U.S. soil, it's already a victory for Putin.
Oh, please.
He's the aggressor here, and he's refused to agree to a ceasefire.
Andrea, this will be it. The president is not operating on what something might look like. He's operating on how to stop obscene carnage among innocent civilians in Ukraine. And that is, he took some heat when he started talking to Putin, because Biden had talked to him for 3 years. You don't make peace through performative actions or theater. You make it by talking to people. And this is what he's committed to. This is the end goal. The end goal is not performance or perception, or it's getting the job done.
It's not about theater.
And
it's about results.
That I can be here and at least be a part of reminding people, because he's done. We know him. It's a remarkable achiever, not just in business, but in knowing people and knowing how to get what he wants. And he wants peace, and he wants an end to carnage around the world. And this country is in this position now because of him and because of the power of the American people, and we're going to use it. And so
looks like South Africa's not coming up.
A good result. And with President Trump, we very well may get one. Yes, Daphne.
Thank you, Tammy, and I'll echo my congratulations on your nomination.
Not that anyone knows what I'm going to mention at the end of the briefing now, but yes, go ahead. Thank you.
On the Human Rights Report, the State Department has cut down criticism of some countries that have extensive records of human rights abuse, including in El Salvador, where the State Department said there was no credible reports of significant human rights abuses, cutting an entire paragraph from last year's report that mentioned issues such as arbitrary arrests and harsh and life-threatening prison conditions. What is this change based on? Has El Salvador taken any steps to change these issues, or how did the State Department determine that these abuses were no longer taking place?
Well, I'm not going to speak from country to country. This is
Damn, we want to hear about South Africa.
Is available. People can go look. Again, Americans, obviously, the reporters here in this room have had it for a little bit of time and have had a chance to take a look at it, which is important. Again, state.gov, and you can search for a human rights report, and you'll get all the countries, etc. First thing I want to mention is that every administration in a transition year has to deal with this particular product, this particular report, for the last calendar year to be released by a new administration. And there's always changes. As you might imagine, if someone is the new president, you got a new administration, the American people made a choice, and they clearly are taking over for the previous administration. Each administration, like with President Trump, reflects a value system and an agenda and a vision that convince the American people to vote for them. And in this case, President Trump always, as ever, I should say, was clear and obvious about the nature of what he wanted to achieve, and the American people agreed with him. This report, as a result, because it was also late, and many of you noted that, it was late because we weren't, just like with other administrations, we weren't going to release something compiled and written by the previous administration. It needed to change based on the point of view and the vision of the Trump administration. And so those changes were made. In addition to the fact that one of the things we're proud of, and what you'll also see next year, is the notion of something being readable by people, something being a reflection overall of what it is that we're dealing with certain nations. So it does not, the restructuring doesn't reflect a change of any U.S. policy when it comes to human rights. It certainly promotes, as does our work, respect for human rights around the globe. It does not reflect on any particular country. We've stopped ranking countries, by the way. People can make their own decisions about what nations are doing. So that is one thing also that is over. We also, I want to mention the notion of how large the report had become in its condemnation of nations and its the detailed listing of certain things. But what I can say is, and I think it's pretty clear, that you can issue reports, you can make them giant, but it depends on what we do. The Trump administration has proven from day one their commitment to human rights around the globe and to the quality of people's lives. We will have perhaps some, in this case, smaller reports, but I would suggest that you watch the actions that are taken by an administration and that commitment to human rights. In this case, you could have giant reports from the Biden administration as the world began to collapse into war, into conflicts, and it's a reminder. So reports are important. Transparency about our positions are important. That's what these reports will serve. And I can tell you again, for the people who work here at the State Department, these reports do matter, and our actions as a nation also back up the nature of our commitment to human rights.
I understand that this is a narrowed report, but can you explain why this was changed and why an entire paragraph on rights abuses was omitted from this report?
Well, again, I won't go into the details of each country. What I do know is that the approach and the attitude of what we expect, and new complaints are added in. Complaints regarding censorship of people in various countries has been added in that had not been dealt with before. So I'm not going to speak on the decisions that our diplomats have made in looking at the nature of the report of the data that they're receiving, but I can tell you that the nature of the attitude, the reason for the report hasn't changed. It is to make sure people know what's happening around the world, what our posture is toward that, and our actions show our willingness and our commitment to changing the quality of life in people around the world. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tammy. I just want to follow up on Nadia's question. You said that you urge Israel always to investigate, and they do investigate in some incidents. But I want to go back to Sunday's incidents when airstrike struck a tent of journalists. 4 of them are my colleagues, killing them. And,
Yeah, Hamas operative, buddy.
There is no need for investigation here because the IDF statement was clear that they targeted Anas al-Sharif, my colleague.
Yeah, because he was a Hamas operative.
He's a leader of a Hamas cell that fires rockets into Israel without providing any proof. And this will add...
Check his social media accounts.
238 journalists who died in Gaza in 2 years. 11 of them are my colleagues. 11 of them. And my question is, are you comfortable with all the claims and excuses that Israel made to target those journalists, whether they are my colleagues or the other 200?
Well, what I can tell you, and I think what's been apparent from this podium, is our concern about the loss of any innocent life. We've made that clear. The work of the people in this building is committed to that. And it's every day, every briefing certainly, we have examples of that. It is difficult for you. Some of you are war reporters, and you go into those zones, and I respect that immensely. So I'm not in a position, nor will I discuss my feelings. That's not what I'm here for, whether I'm comfortable or uncomfortable. What I will tell you is that we refer you to Israel for information regarding al-Sharif. Israel has released evidence that Sharif was part of Hamas and was supportive of the Hamas attack on October 7th. They're the ones who have the evidence. They're the ones who can be reached, and will hopefully talk with you.
Okay, she's addressed about as much as she's going to address on Human Rights Report, so there's not much value in continuing with this. And we've been at this for a while. So still 500 people here. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. I appreciate it. Time for me to go. I've got to go collect my meds from the clinic up before they close, so I got to roll. And she's not really adding anything. Thanks for being here. Be sure to hit the like button. And I think we like our song. We came up there. Keep the faith. All right, that'll be put onto into distribution later today. Plus, I've got to finish writing an article for the Daily Friend. I've got some packing to do. And I've also got to read that Human Rights Report and see what they say about South Africa. Thanks for being here, folks. Be sure to hit the like button. Appreciate it.